What is up, everybody? Welcome to Stat Diggers. Going to give an early look for UFC Vegas 39. Mackenzie Dern going against Marina Rodriguez. And typically, I am very optimistic and very positive about the cards. But my goodness, it's hard to get excited for Steve Garcia against Charlie Ontiveros. Very hard to, but we're here anyway on a Sunday, breaking it down. We put in the work for you guys. So sit back, relax, and let's go through some stats. I am here with Uncle Weezy. Uncle Weezy, what is up? Are you looking forward to this card?
Yeah, we got to look forward to any opportunity, right, to make money. And, in some cards we look forward to more than the others, Brady. It's all right. Some of them just don't measure up. But you know what? We do this show every week, whether we made money last week or whether we lost money last week, whether the fights are going to be spectacular, whether they're going to be ass. There's got to be some opportunities somewhere, right? So we got 11 fights on this card. Boy, I don't like any of the favorites, and I like the underdogs even less, but if we cut it down in a few layers into these stats, I'm sure we can find some spots here, my man. So let's get into it, dude.
Oh, yeah, we're always going to find some spots for sure. But first, before we get into it, as always, we're going to recap last night. And, man, I thought the card started off fantastic. I thought it was going to be a very fun card. I started off the night hot. I thought it was going to be a phenomenal night. I cashed the Douglas Silva de Andrade Gaetano Parello under. I got the Eduardo Perez fight doesn't go to decision. I got the under 2.5 in the Malarkey Smith. I was rolling hot. Carol Rosa got it done, set up a big night. And it all came down to the main event for me, Uncle Weezy. I had 4 units deep in the main event, ending inside the distance. And these guys go out there and play patty cake for 25 minutes. And somebody said in the chat, this fight could have went 10 rounds. They could have ran it back, and it could have went another 5 rounds there. So instead of a phenomenal night, it turned into a minus 3.75 unit loss. And that just goes to show, guys, there is no such thing as a lock in MMA. Nothing is certain in this game. And what hurts even worse is I bet the fight doesn't go to decision at minus 360 and it closed around minus 750. But, we're back here. We're ready to get back into it. But, that one, not going to lie, it stung a little bit, but it wasn't even close to finishing. I think, Santos landed maybe one shot in that entire fight. Like the 5th round, landed one nice punch there. I don't think Johnny Walker landed one punch the entire fight, but yeah, that kind of surprised me. But hopefully you guys out there did a little bit better. There were some good spots as far as the picks go. I think I went like 9-2 or 10-2. The ones I got wrong was Malarkey, and then I got wrong the Jocko fight as well. So the picks were great, but put kind of all my eggs in one basket into the main event, which I was comfortable with, to be honest. I felt great about, but it just did not go my way, which is fine. Things happen. This is MMA. This is why we love the sport. 25-minute decision, Johnny Walker, Santos. Uncle Weezy, what is up, and how did you do last night?
It was pretty lousy for me last night. I stayed very light. I only had 3 bets. I had 1 bet on the Perez-Eduardo fight doesn't go to decision at plus 100. That cashed. But my 2 bets that didn't cash were Joe Selecki, 2 units on the money line there, and that was a coin flip. It could have went either way. But, that was a 50-50 fight, and I was holding the minus 131 ticket, so I count that as bad bet. And I also had the Misha Jotko fight not going to decision, and I kind of knew 2 or 3 minutes into that fight that was not going to go. That was not going to end inside the distance. That was just, Jotko. I thought that they would fight that fight at Misha's pace, but Jotko has a way of completely making any fight boring and completely slowing down the pace. And I didn't think he would be able to do that to Misha, and boy, was I wrong. So, yeah, wound up, that if I would have gotten that Selecki decision, I needed a little help from the judges there. I would have wound up small money, like a quarter unit. But I wound up down 3 units on the night. Not a great one. And that fight going to decision, it was funny, dude. I'm on vacation visiting my dad. Had him over for dinner, talking about like all the mixed martial arts analysis that I've been doing, and I'm building a YouTube channel, and people come to me for analysis and stats. And as the Santos Walker fights start, and I'm like, Dad, you got to check this out, man. Both these guys are killer. Like the best fight, the best bet of the night, and I'm an analyst, is that this fight, no way it sees the scorecards. He was like laughing at me in the 3rd round. He goes, nobody's even hitting each other. I felt like the biggest asshole, dude. But yeah, man, on to the next. We got to find some spots here, dude. We got to find some spots. We got 11 fights to go through. So let's forget about last week right now. Find some spots on this card.
Heck yeah, for sure. That was weird, man. The main event didn't finish. Serkinov Jocko wasn't anywhere close to finishing, and then the Price Oliveira wasn't anywhere close to finishing. So 3 fights that a lot of people, including me, thought were going to end inside the distance. All 3 did not. But yeah, we're back at it here. I think we can find some more violent spots for sure. Do you want to shout out the chat real quick? What is up, everybody? Simone in the chat. We have Roy as well. Chris in the chat hanging out. Sosa. We have B Blades. We have Tristan Headley 1. Let's see what else we got. Jonathan, you guys are killing it already. Indigo, Luke, Thomas, the General. Nice to see the General. I've not seen you in a while, General. And then Muhammad. So thank you all for hanging out. If you all can hit the like button, subscribe here to Pub Sports Radio. Have content coming out throughout the week. Me and Uncle Weezy will be going live once again on Tuesday for the DraftKings show. Me, Weezy, Luke, and AJ. Cannot wait for that. And then, of course, the guys go live every Saturday for the fights. And then just a ton of content throughout the week. So sub here to Pub Sports Radio so not miss out on all of that. So Weezy, I think it's time we get into it, right? Time to dig into a new card. It is a new week. I'm looking forward to it. I am excited. And I am excited to talk about Charlie Ontiveros, who, in my opinion, this very well could be the worst fighter in the UFC, going against Steve Garcia, who's not great himself. So that's saying a lot about how bad Charlie Ontiveros is. And we have Garcia, who's 29 years old, 6 foot, 75-inch reach, going against Charlie Ontiveros, who is 30 years old, 6'2", with a 78-inch reach. So Charlie Ontiveros is going to be 1 year older. He's going to have a 2-inch height advantage and also a 3-inch reach advantage. So Garcia, he got a win on the Contender Series by knockout, makes his UFC debut against Luis Pena, and gets controlled for, I think, like 12, 13, or even 14 minutes in that fight. Was controlled for just about the whole fight. Didn't really get anything going in that fight. And then Charlie Ontiveros, same thing, made his UFC debut against Kevin Holland. Prior to that, he was a 3-1 in his last four fights. Came in against Kevin Holland and got kind of a weird injury, hurt his neck or something. It was called a submission, right? He got hurt. So yeah, Uncle Weezy, what's sticking out to you on this first fight of the night? I think there's going to probably be some violence.
Yeah, that's the angle that I'm seeing on this one. Whenever you see a guy in Ontiveros who's probably not at the UFC level, and I think we can both agree that he's probably not there yet. He's got an 11-7 record, and all 7 of those losses have come inside the distance. You know, that you got to love that for violent spots. I mean, that's as sure as a violent spot as Santos Walker was the other night. So we got to love. But you know what? The statistics are telling us the same thing. You know, whether we lost on the Jotko bet, on the Jotko Sarkunov fight doesn't go. We lost on the Santos Walker fight doesn't go. But it doesn't really matter. We got to keep moving forward and finding these spots where we have people who have a 100% finish rate against. It's absolutely huge when we can find that. And even Ontiveros is finishing over half of his wins. But, you know, Garcia's got a 100% knockout rate. And, we got a 73% knockout rate for Steve Garcia here. So we don't have much in the way of data in the UFC for these guys. Only 3 combined fights. So I like to look at those, finish numbers. And we see that, all 7 losses, 6 of them by knockout, 1 of them by sub for Ontiveros. And the sub was really just him. It could have been called a KO or a TKO because he just quit. And, Brady, why don't you want to tell him about what you saw on tape from Ontiveros, and just in terms of how this guy loses fights before I go into the rest of the numbers?
Yeah, I mean, I was watching tape on this guy. I sent you the video where he was getting kneed and then he breaks away. And then during the fight, I've never seen anything like this. He walks away casually and looks at the ref and says, "I'm done. I'm done." The ref says, keep fighting. And then the guy just starts punching him, just about knocks him out, rocks him. He goes out for a second. And then the ref finally stops it. And that's not the only instance where he's quit. This guy has quit several times. I watched another fight. He got taken down. As soon as he got taken down, he says to the ref, "I'm done." The ref waves it off. He says he hurt his ribs or something. This guy is the biggest quitter I've ever seen. He quit in the Holland fight. I don't even know if that was a real injury. He hurt his neck, but was it? He's back. He's back. So he's a big quitter. Tons of doctor stoppages, tons of ref stoppages, tons of corner stoppages on his record. And I think he's very, very fragile. And the thing with Garcia is I'm kind of impressed with the guy. His striking is very good. He mixes in the elbows, the knees. Tons of power as well, tons of knockouts. I think someone's going to sleep, and I think someone's going to sleep within a round. Charlie Ontiveros, his fights typically do end within the first round, whether it's him winning or losing. And, with how dangerous both guys are and how fragile Ontiveros is, I really like Garcia to get a finish here. But if Ontiveros does win, it's probably going to be in that first round.
Yeah, I agree completely. I mean, like we were talking about how we were having trouble finding some spots on this card, but I think we just found the first spot. We got to love violence here. I mean, and you were talking about how he finishes fights. So Ontiveros not getting great wins against Washington Louise, 5-4, but 135 round 1 knockout. Derek Ageday, who's got a 3-5 record, but 150 of round 1. Clovis Hancock, 2-2. He wins with a body kick at 245 of round 2. And that was an LFA. And he's been fighting in Fury. They're not horribly low level fights for this guy. I mean, he's got a loss to Veretennikov, who we just saw on the Contender Series. He's got a loss to MVP Michael Page. He's got a loss to Jeff Neal. So he's losing to some decent guys, but he's not really beating great guys either. But he is getting out of there quick. 311 round 1, 130 round 2. He's got a couple of decision wins as well. But, the violent spot here is really sticking out to me. But that being said, we do have to talk about the fact that the Ontiveros fight was at 185 against Holland. This one's going to be at 155. So he is moving down. And then as far as Garcia goes, if we look at his numbers, he had a really interesting fight against, not an interesting fight, but interesting statistically, against Luis Pena. Controlled him, I think, for 14 out of the 15 minutes of the fight, Brady. It was 842 seconds of control time for Luis Pena in a decision win, which means he controlled over 14 minutes and 2 seconds of control time. And when I saw that number, I thought I had made a mistake with the data entry. So I went back and I watched the fight. And yeah, he got 14 minutes and 2 seconds of control time. It was Luis Pena against Garcia there. So, but that's not Ontiveros' game. So for me, the stats are telling me that we got a great shot at violence here. And if we could get that bet at better than -200, we're going to be looking really good, because Charlie Ontiveros is the kind of fighter that we love betting on these violence bets against, because, for or against, the guy makes that kind of fight. And then Garcia is so nice with his hands and has so much power that we could see him finishing the fight inside the distance. Let's face it, Garcia's what, a -300 favorite here, Brady? So the books agree that this guy is by far the more dangerous guy. 75% implied probability to win, and he knocks people out. And since Ontiveros isn't exactly the kind of stick-to-you grappler, I mean, he got 0 seconds of control time against Holland, but it was up 2 weight classes. Yeah, loving the violent spot here. Don't want to overthink it too much, because we don't have a lot of data between these two guys.
Yep, Charlie Ontiveros is the definition of show me the door. He's been finishing every single one of his losses, and I think it continues here. Garcia, he's very durable. I don't think Garcia's ever been knocked out. So that's very important to know, because I think it's going to be one of those fights where they just stand and bang until one man falls. And I'm more confident that Garcia is going to be still standing, and Ontiveros probably throws in the towel for like the 8th time in his career. But we do take a look at the odds here. Oh, one more thing. This fight, like you said, it's at 155, right? This will be Ontiveros' very first fight at 155, which is interesting. He usually fights at 170. He fought at 185 against Holland, but now 155 here for the first time in his career. How's that going to help the weight cut? How's that going to help the durability of Ontiveros, which is already, as bad as it could be? So just another reason to like Garcia here. But we do see that Garcia is a big favorite, and rightfully so. He opened up as a -300. He's currently -301, and then Ontiveros opened up +250, and he's currently +251. We do have some props out, only on 5 dimes. Me and Weezy don't have access to that book, but they do have the fight doesn't go to decision at -170. Fight goes to decision at +130. I will say, if I had access to the fight doesn't go to decision at -170, that would be an official play of mine. I'm waiting for the under 2.5 to come out, and then hopefully waiting for that fight doesn't go to decision line to come out on my book. Hopefully sometime tonight I'll hit that for sure. But Weezy, any thoughts on the fight doesn't go -170 or the Garcia money line?
Well, God, I can't lay minus 300 on Steve Garcia. Dude, we haven't even seen him in a minute. The Pena fight was the last fight, and I think that was early 2020. So yeah, it's been a while, and when we have a missing chunk of information like that, and really for both fighters, 3 combined fights. But dude, love the fight doesn't go to decision for this bet. I mean, Ontiveros is exactly the kind of fighter that we love to make violence bets on, and getting it better than minus 200 would be an official play of mine as well.
Sounds good. So I think we're on the same page there. I think we are looking at violence for that one, and we'll move on to the next fight here. We have Sam Hughes going against Lupe Godinez. It should be an interesting fight here. We have Lupe Godinez, who is 28 years old, 5'2", with a 61-inch reach. Sam Hughes, 29 years old, 5'5", with a 64-inch reach. So Sam Page is going to be 1 year older. She's going to have a 3-inch height advantage and a 3-inch reach advantage as well. Take a look at their last few fights. Sam Hughes is 2-3 in her last 5 fights. She did make her UFC debut against Tecia Torres, and it was one of those weird fights, Weezy, where I think that was Torres's very first knockout, or like her second knockout in her entire career. And FanDuel made a very big mistake of putting like the over 1.5 rounds at like minus 110. And everybody hit it. I don't think I had access to FanDuel at the time, so I didn't hit it. But people were like max betting the over 1.5, and rightfully so. And then like a TKO cut stoppage, weird stoppage where the cut was like nowhere near the eye. So that was weird. And then she comes back, and then she loses to Luma Lukbumi, who I'm pretty high on personally. She did look a lot better in that fight compared to how she did against Torres, but clearly lost that fight as well. In terms of Lupe Godinez, she did make her UFC debut against Jessica Penne, lost by split decision. And I was rooting for Penne in that fight. Lupe was like a minus 300 favorite in that fight. And I really thought that Lupe did enough to win. I thought she outstruck her. She threw her down to the mat, several times. And Penne did have some control time here and there. But yeah, I really thought that Lupe did enough to get the win. But Penne got it done. And I think that was Penne's very first fight coming back after like a 3 or 4 year layoff as well. Prior to that, she did go 4-0 in her last 4 fights. Fought Vanessa Demopoulos, who both fighters do have a fight over, where Sam Hughes lost against her by submission, and Lupe won a pretty one-sided decision for the most part. It did get a little bit sketchy later the fight went, but she did clearly win the fight. But yeah, interesting fight here. What do you think, Weezy?
Yeah, it's just interesting that this is the 3rd time they've fought, right? I mean, this is the 3rd time. We got 2 amateur fights between these two, which is always something that is just kind of interesting to see when you have a history there. They've had a draw, and then Godinez's last amateur fight was against Sam Hughes, and she beat her. So yeah, I'm definitely liking Lupe here. I think she's fought the slightly better brand of competition. If we go back through her Tapology record here, she's never fought anybody with a losing record at the pro level. Jenna McAllister 2-1, Ashley Maston 0-0, Felicia Magellan 1-0, Lindsay Garbat 6-5, Vanessa Demopoulos 5-2, and then Penne 12-5. If we look at Sam Hughes's record, she's got losses to Lukbumi, Torres, and Demopoulos. But she was beating the hell out of Demopoulos there, and then just kind of got caught there in the 4th round because Vanessa's really tough and really difficult to finish. And then if we go through her record, she actually has not fought anybody with a losing record as a pro. Danielle Hindley 4-1, Lisa Malden 3-1, and then 3 0-0 fighters making their debut. So, we don't have a whole lot of data once again between these 2 fighters. We've got 3 combined fights for these 2. If we look at the finish numbers, we see that Lupe's got 1 of her 5 wins by knockout, while Sam Page has got 4 wins inside the distance, 3 by submission, 1 by knockout. The career numbers are pretty similar in terms of fights, in terms of years in the game, in terms of cage time. Sam Page 1 more UFC fight. But, obviously, if we look at how these ladies fought in their UFC fights, Lupe Godinez almost definitely won that fight against Penne. I was very surprised to see Penne get that decision. And, Lupe also kind of got screwed by the judges against Vanessa Demopoulos when she beat the brakes off of Demopoulos for 5 rounds. And somehow that wound up being a split decision. Do you remember that fight, dude?
I remember like later in the fight, she was kind of gassed out a little bit.
Yeah, but like Demopoulos was doing some grappling, and she wasn't really having much success. But the stuff that Lupi was landing, she was
Oh
beating the
yeah.
hell out of Vanessa. So I just like Lupi here. But she's gonna have a 3-inch reach disadvantage and be the much smaller girl. 3 inches of height, 3-inch reach disadvantage for Lupi. If we look at the striking numbers, they're just not great for Sampage because she's lost both fights. Landing 3.45 per minute, absorbing 6.8. And then we see Lupi landing 2.67, absorbing 2.07. The striking defense, Brady's the biggest difference. 64% for Lupi, 40% for Sampage. So, and then we see Lupi getting 3 takedowns of her own in the one fight that she got against Penne. And we've seen Sampage with a below 50% takedown defense here. So, this is a spot where even though Sampage has fought the tougher competition because Lupi only fought Penne, you gotta like Lupi here simply because she has shown that she could get takedowns of her own, pre-UFC and in the UFC, and Sampage not really defending them well at all. So that's one route for her. But the other route is the fact that she's just got really nice hands, really nice boxing. And I think that while it's on the feet, even though Sampage has got some really nice Muay Thai of her own, she's got good technique and she hits hard and she's a good finisher. 80% finish rate for Sampage. So, I think it'll be close on the feet, but with Lupi being able to get takedowns of her own and Sampage showing below 50% takedown defense, I do see a path for Lupi to win minutes if she doesn't like how it's going on the feet. But I don't think she's going to not dislike how it's going on the feet, Brady, because she's already beat this girl once as an amateur and had a draw against her in another fight as an amateur. Did you watch any of the amateur fights between these two?
Nope. Waiting for the tape index to get updated, then I will.
I hadn't seen them either, so I didn't. That would be pretty cool to check out, just to look and see how they competed, even though they were both amateurs and they've both come a long way since then. I think it's been about 3 years since their last amateur fight. It would be interesting to get that footage if possible. But yeah, the pick for me is going to be Lupi Godinez here, and with a decent amount of confidence, because even though Sampage has that size and reach advantage, we know that Lupi has dealt with that in the past twice and never lost to her. And then, you add in the fact that she might be able to go to the wrestling here to win rounds on top. And it makes me pretty confident here in Lupi.
Yeah, I'm pretty confident. I think it'll actually be the other way around. I think that, Sam Hughes is going to want to get this fight down to the mat because Lupi is great on the feet. Like, she hits very, very hard, very impressed with her striking. And then on top of that, like you mentioned, which is what stuck out to me the most, is how hittable Hughes is. And you see the numbers right there, a 40% striking defense. Lupi, it looks like she should have more finishes with how hard she hits, but she only has, I think, like 1 knockout on her record. But yeah, I think it's going to be a very bad time for Sam Hughes on the feet. I favor Lupi on the feet quite a bit. And what I also like about Lupi is she's very, very strong. Her takedown defense is very, very good. So even if Sam Hughes wants to get this fight down to the mat, I don't think she has good wrestling whatsoever. I don't think she's going to be able to. If anything, like you said, I think Lupi is going to be able to be successful in getting the takedowns, but I don't think she'll need to. I think she's going to make it look pretty easy here on the feet, which is why it's kind of weird that we do see some money coming in on the Hughes side. And I will want to go back and I want to watch that the Hughes versus Godinez fight when they fought back as an amateur, if I'm able to get access to it. I'd like to see that. That was, I think, back in 2017 or 2018, but still would be nice to see. But we do see that Lupi Godinez opened at minus 150. She went down all the way to minus 200. Now she's back up to minus 171 on Bet Online. And we do see that Sam Hughes opened up plus 130, went all the way up to plus 175, and she's now back down to plus 146. In terms of the fight goes to decision, the fight goes to decision is minus 245. The fight doesn't go. It's plus 175. I kind of think it goes to decision, and I kind of think that Lupi Godinez gets it done with some volume here. What do you think, Weezy?
Agreed. I think she gets it done however she wants. I do think she's a little bit better everywhere. Even, like I say, even in her pro loss, I thought she won that fight. And then if you go back to the amateur record, Lupi's got 9 amateur fights. She was 4-4-1 as an amateur. So you like to see that. You like to see when somebody has some experience and goes into the pros having gotten the requisite amount of experience in order to figure, all right, I can make a run here, which is exactly what she's done. She could easily be 6-0 as a pro, Lupe Godinez. So yeah, I'm liking her here. Not going to touch the time props because both of these ladies got some serious power. And I'm not ballsy enough to bet that under or the fight goes or the fight doesn't go. But I do like Lupe quite a bit in this spot. And I might be considering putting down 1.7 units to win one, maybe even before the show's over.
Yeah, I don't hate that because, to be honest, I was looking at the lines a couple of weeks ago or like a week ago, and that minus 200, it was like minus 200 at the time. Godinez, it stuck out to me, and now she's down to minus 171. So I don't know if I should keep waiting on the line. I don't know what's going on. I'm going to look into it a little bit more tonight, but Lupe is the spot that does stick out, especially after the tape even more sticks out. But I do want to watch a little bit more tape, and I do want to see their matchup back as an amateur, see what that looked like. But yeah, I think Lupe is a solid spot here for sure. So we'll move on to the next fight here. We have what should be a very fun fight. Damon Jackson's a very fun guy. It should be a fight where we're going to see a lot of ground exchanges on the mat. We have Charles Rosa going against Damon Jackson. Charles Rosa, 35 years old, 5'9", with a 69-inch reach. Damon Jackson, 33 years old, 5'11", with a 71-inch reach. So Damon Jackson is going to be the bigger fighter and the younger fighter, a 2-inch height advantage and also a 2-inch reach advantage. And then, like I said, 2 years younger there. So Damon Jackson, he made his UFC debut against Mirsad Bektic, and he was a huge underdog. I want to say like Bektic was like minus 350 to like the minus 400 range, and Bektic was dominating him basically the whole fight, and Bektic kind of gassed out, and that's when he submitted Bektic. Was a really, really good win there. Probably lost a lot of people some money that parlayed Bektic because I thought Bektic was going to win as well, but no, Damon Jackson pulled it off. And then he went out there against Elliott Topuria, terrible matchup. Topuria went out there and starched him within like the first minute, which was awesome because I did have money on Topuria there. Before that, he's 3-2 in his last 5 fights. As far as Charles Rosa, 3-2 in his last 5 fights as well. A submission win over Manny Bermudez, very good win there. A decision loss to Bryce Mitchell, where Bryce Mitchell took him down for 3 rounds, almost submitted him like 10 times. But Charles Rosa is very, very hard to submit, very hard to finish. And then won a weird decision against Kevin Aguilar where they kind of just looked at each other for 15 minutes and Rosa was able to outpoint him there. And then he lost a decision to Derek Minner where Minner was able to take him down multiple times, control him for about 15 minutes. The very first fight in Minner's career where he showed some cardio. So that was nice to see out of the Minner side. But after that, when Minner fought Elkins, it showed that it kind of was just a one-off there, right? And then against Justin James, he wins a split decision. I personally did score for Rosa, but it was a very close fight. And Justin James showed cardio for the very first time in his career in that fight. So that was weird as well. But yeah, interesting fight. Any thoughts on this one, Weezy?
Yeah, first of all, I was looking at the line and it just looked like it was, I thought it was actually flipped, because as mediocre as Rosa has been lately, I mean, you want to talk about a mediocre UFC fighter, it's Damon Jackson, man. I mean, the guy's UFC record, he's got, 1 win, 2 losses, 1 draw, and a no contest. I mean, he just ran the gambit, of all the possible types of results that you could get. And, the thing that I love about Damon Jackson, though, is that all 5 of those fights that weren't no contests, all 5 of the fights, period, ended inside the distance. So, 4 of the 5, because we do have a draw. So, he is finishing fights, and sometimes it's always tricky to see the finish rate when there's a draw because you see that they won all their fights by finish, they lost all their fights by finish, but then there's that draw which throws it off. But yeah, 4 of Damon Jackson's 5 UFC fights have finished inside the distance, and for Rosa, it's 3 of 10. So that's not as much. I don't know who's going to finish this fight, but it's a grappling match. And here's the thing. We look at Damon Jackson on takedowns in the UFC, 3 of 15, only 20%. And 62%, almost 63% of his fights are taking place in control time positions. While for Rosa, it's about 48% of his fights that are taking place in control time positions. So this really does seem like a fight that's going to be decided by whoever is the better grappler. Here's the thing. Rosa, in 10 UFC fights, has attempted 45 takedowns. So he's averaging 4.5 takedown attempts per fight. He's gotten 16 of them for a 35.56% accuracy. He's averaging 1.78 takedowns per 15 minutes. Damon Jackson has only gotten 3 of the 15 takedowns he's attempted for only 20%, and he's averaging 1.14 takedowns per 15 minutes. So Rosa's been the more willing wrestler and the more efficient wrestler. However, both of these guys have shown absolutely pitiful takedown defense, Brady. I mean, we're talking sub 40% takedown defense for both of these guys, right? So 18 of 29 takedowns attempted against Rosa have been successful. He's getting taken down 2 times for 15 minutes, giving up 32% control time. And then we look over at Jackson, and it's just as bad. 9 of 14 takedown attempts have been successful. 35 or 31% control time allowed. 3.43 takedowns yielded per 15 minutes, and 1.14 submission attempts yielded per 15 minutes. So if we look at the striking numbers, both of these guys are absorbing more than they land. Both of these guys couldn't hit water if they fell out of a boat. And both of these guys have piss poor striking defense. So as a result of all 3 of those factors in the striking, that's why we see these guys' fights taking place as long as they are in control time positions. So which one of these guys is the better grappler, Brady? That's what we need to figure out here. If we look at the strength of schedule in the UFC, it's just not much help. The competition is very close, maybe slightly better overall for Rosa, but the wins slightly better for Damon Jackson, is he's actually beating winning competition with an average record of 6-3, while the guys that Rosa are beating, that we're talking about guys with losing records, 1.8 wins, 2.8 losses. So not only do they have losing records, but they're inexperienced. And then we look at these guys. Damon Jackson is losing the guys with losing records, but Charles Rosa is losing the guys with winning records. So, they're both kind of unpredictable. I mean, Damon Jackson in particular. Damon Jackson seems to be winning fights he shouldn't be winning, and then he's losing fights he should be winning. He seems to be the more high variance fighter, the guy that can pull off a submission while getting his ass shaved for 13 minutes, and then he just gets a submission and gets a win. But he could also be the guy that he should be out grappling some bum, and then he goes out there and he's the one who gets submitted by the bum. So high variance fighter in Jackson. And the crazy thing about this, Brady, is that Jackson's almost a 2-1 favorite here. Now, I know that Charles Rosa hasn't been spectacular by any stretch of the imagination, but I mean, come on. Charles Rosa's fought over half of his career at the UFC level, while for Damon Jackson, it's just over 20%, So, and both of these guys aren't getting any younger either. Rosa 35, Jackson 33. I kind of went through all the stats here, man. I don't know. I think I'm actually leaning Rosa here. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I will say that I think the line's off, but I will be going with the Damon Jackson side as far as a pick. But in terms of laying chalk on Damon Jackson, never in a million years would I do that. You take a look at Damon Jackson. I guess the one knock on him is he has a horrible chin. His chin is awful. Been knocked out several times. I think he's been finished in all of his losses. One coming by submission. That submission did come back in 2014, a bulldog choke against Yancy Medeiros. So about 6-7 years ago. But yeah, typically when he does lose, it is by knockout. And really, Uncle Weezy, I think it comes down to who's going to get on top first, right? If Rosa can get on top, I think he could have success. If Damon Jackson can get on top, I think he can have success. I mean, both these guys' get-up games are pretty horrendous, especially your Charles Roses. We saw Derek Minner go out there, control him for nearly 15 minutes. Same thing with Bryce Mitchell. And, I could see Damon Jackson doing just that. But on the flip side, I can see Charles Rosa taking down Damon Jackson. And like you said, Charles Rosa has fought the much better competition. Charles Rosa has been in the UFC longer. And Damon Jackson is kind of a very weird fighter to cap for sure. But this is a big pass for me. I'm going to stay far, far away. I will say that Damon Jackson will get the takedowns, get on top, and kind of grind out a decision, which I know is very weird because this guy's a finisher, and all he does is get finished or get finishes. But Charles Rosa is very tough. Charles Rosa only has been knocked out once. Charles Rosa has never been submitted. So I'll say Damon Jackson actually wins a 3-round decision. But if there is a finish in this fight, like who's going to get the finish? But I don't see either guy knocking each other out. Is either guy going to submit the other guy? I don't know. But we'll take a look at the line. And like you said, Weezy, he is a pretty big favorite here. If I can find it. Oh, there it is. So Yeah, and money's still coming in on him. So Damon Jackson opened up actually as a dog, plus 155, and he's currently minus 180. And then we see Charles Rosa opening up minus 180, and he's currently a plus 155 dog. In terms of the fight, the fight doesn't go to decisions, actually at plus money, which is interesting because I thought I kind of had a hot take thinking this fight goes the distance. The fight goes the distance is actually minus 165. So what are your thoughts on that? And then what are your thoughts on, like you already said, the money line seems pretty wide, right?
Yeah, and man, it's not just wide, it flat out flipped.
It did, yes.
You know, I mean, like, who's this confident in Damon Jackson over anybody right now? And I mean, it's not really a bust on Damon Jackson, but he hasn't been fantastic. And we know that, you know, Rosa, I mean, Bryce Mitchell couldn't submit Rosa. You know, but then, you know, you look at so here's the funny thing, you know, Rosa 10 fights and he's lost, win. He's due for a loss.
He is.
Because he alternates back and forth. So if you're a believer in patterns and that's your only way to bet MMA, bet the house on Damon Jackson because the pattern is there for the losses for Rosa. But man, I'm not going to touch the time props in this because, you know, it's potential that either one of these guys could get a sub, but they're both really good grapplers.
Yeah.
Rosa's known for his grappling. Jackson's known for his grappling. Neither one of these guys are any good on the feet. So you got to believe this is going to be a grappling match. Should be a good one for DraftKings because whoever shoots takedowns is probably going to get them. There's probably going to be some reverses. There's probably going to be a ton of control time on both sides and maybe even some strikes landing. So, yeah, but I just want to another thing I want to note. I think the last 2 wins for Charles Rosa have come by split decision. So even when he does win, I think there's some people who are thinking he probably lost. So, yeah, dude, I mean, even if I'm getting plus money on Rosa, I don't know if I can pull the trigger, you know, because then I've got to bet on Charles Rosa.
I can see it now, Weezy. You bet on Rosa plus money. You're screaming at your TV to get up Charles Rosa. Why are you laying on your back for 15 minutes? What are you doing? This is a nightmare.
I could absolutely see that happening. And it's like sometimes when I see those things happening in my mind, it's the surest way to get me out of out of making a bad bet, you know, is just picturing how I lose the bet.
It's just not worth the headache sometimes, you know?
Yeah, you got that right, man.
Oh, yeah. But I think this fight's intriguing. But as far as a betting perspective, I think I'm just going to stay far, far away from it. Just sit back and watch it, see what happens, you know? But yeah, like you said, Weezy, DraftKings. This is a fight where I'm going to be heavy on DraftKings. I think the winner does score well.
Yeah, and neither one of these guys can stop a takedown, so...
Yes. Oh, yeah, 100%. So we do have 100 of you in here. Thank you so much for hanging out on a Sunday. I know we have a lot going on today, but thank you guys for hanging out. If you all can hit the like button, that'd be much, much appreciated. We're here every Sunday, 6:15 p.m. Eastern Time, giving a very early look into the next week's card. So let's get to the next fight, Weezy. So we have Felipe Colares going against Chris Gutiérrez. We have Chris Gutiérrez, 30 years old, 5'9", with a 67-inch reach. Felipe Colares, he is 27 years old, 5'8", with a 69-inch reach. So Colares is going to be 1 inch smaller, but he will have a 2-inch reach advantage here, and he also is 3 years younger than Chris Gutiérrez. In terms of the last few fights, so he had Chris Gutiérrez had a decision win over Ryan McDonald. He had a split decision win over Geraldo de Freitas, a knockout win over Vince Morales. That was that crazy TKO with leg kicks fight. And then a draw against Cody Durden where Durden came out in the first round, controlled him for all of the first round. And then he got a draw there, 10-8 the first round there. And then he came back and then got a win over Andre Ewell. Very good win there. As far as Felipe Colares, he is 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Lost to Geraldo de Freitas, a win over Domingo Pilarte, a loss to Montel Jackson. That Montel Jackson fight was an absolute beating. I do remember that Domingo Pilarte fight because I was on vacation. I was on a cruise. Domingo Pilarte was like 9,400. Really needed him to get it done, but no, Colares pulled off the upset. But now we know how big of a bum Domingo Pilarte is. And then he had recently a win over Luke Sanders, which is a pretty solid win, but Luke Sanders is known for dropping the ball. What this fight comes down to for me is, I'm very impressed with Chris Gutiérrez. I think he's a phenomenal striker. His leg kicks are next level, some of the best in the division. Colares, he's tough as they come. I don't think he's ever been knocked out. He probably never will be knocked out. This guy's toughness is his biggest thing. That's what he is. He's very tough. But with that toughness, he's very hittable. 38% strike and defense. I think Chris Gutiérrez is going to tee off on this guy for 15 minutes if Colares doesn't get it down to the mat, which it could be possible. We have seen Chris Gutiérrez taken down. He was taken down, I think it was in his UFC debut. He was taken down outside of the UFC multiple times by Timur Valiev, good fighter there. He was taken down a couple times by Geraldo de Freitas. He was taken down by Cody Durden. He's been taken down a lot. So, Weezy, do you think Colares could take him down, or do you kind of see Chris Gutiérrez outpointing him to a decision win, or maybe even finishing him?
Yeah, so we've seen Colares be a very, very willing wrestler. So that's going to be very important in this fight, because if Colares just decides to strike with Gutiérrez, he's going to get chopped down like a tree. You know, when you have toughness, it's a very important attribute to have in the UFC, to be able to take a beating, to be able to fight through the hard points of a fight, and then, you know, out hurt your opponent. But when somebody's kicking your leg, it's just not even possible. When you're on one leg, it doesn't matter how tough you are, you're never going to win a fight. And Gutiérrez is really known for these leg kicks. And also, Brady, once you get kicked in that calf once, twice, 3 times, it makes it almost impossible to wrestle after that, because any kind of blast that you're going to get in order to enter a takedown properly is just, you're not going to be able to get it off of a dead leg. And it's that front leg that you have to kind of shoot off of, you know, in order to get in deep on a single leg or a double leg. So yeah, Colares, though, 34 takedown attempts in 4 fights in the UFC. So that's what we want to see. We want to see this guy be a willing wrestler. We want to see this guy be able to rack up a bunch of control time, keep this fight in control time positions where it's going to be close. However, we did see Durden get that really nice takedown against Gutiérrez, work to his back, and then just stay there. But hey, Gutiérrez fought really smart there. He fought the hands, and even though Durden had his back for about 3.5 minutes, he didn't make any mistakes. And then he realized what the game plan was. And from there on out, he stopped the takedowns and really was quite dominant in the last 2 rounds of that fight. He won those last 2 rounds clearly. Gutiérrez knows what people are going to do against him. And with Colares shooting 34 takedowns in 4 fights, I think Gutiérrez knows what's happening here. You got to like that this dude trains at elevation, and he has the conditioning to stuff takedowns for 3 rounds and go to that kickboxing. And you're right, dude. I don't think this is going to be close at all on the feet. And then we look at Colares' wins against, you know, Pilardi, who's a bum, and then Luke Sanders, who is one of those guys in the UFC that is really known for being able to just dig deep and find a way to lose fights, spectacularly lose fights. And these are the guys that Colares has the wins over, while Gutiérrez is beating some legitimate dudes. You know, and he's got a win over De Freitas by split decision, while Colares lost to De Freitas. So a little bit of MMA math there on the Gutiérrez side. And that win over Andre Ewell is more impressive than any of the wins that Colares had. And boy, was that an ass shaving against Montel Jackson, dude. Man. And I mean, I know Montel Jackson puts it on dudes, but that was hard to watch. That was a mismatch, dude. Yet I am liking Chris Gutiérrez here. I think he can even though Colares is incredibly tough to get out of there, the reason I like Gutiérrez is he's such a good kickboxer. He's keeping 75% of his fights at kickboxing range. While we see what Colares tries to do, Colares has been at almost 70% of his fights have been taking place in control time positions, but he's getting out-controlled almost 2-1. So he's attempting to get into these control time positions, but the reality is he isn't able to keep them there. So I think that Gutiérrez should win this fight fairly easily, as we see Colares with that inefficient takedown percentage at 23.53%. And the fact that he's attempted as many takedowns as his opponents have, but yet been out-controlled at almost a 2-1 ratio, tells me that he doesn't have the efficiency on the wrestling and the grappling in order to make this fight his fight against Gutiérrez, to make Gutiérrez uncomfortable. So I'm picking Chris Gutiérrez to win this fight, kind of running away, actually.
Yep, I think he wins it pretty convincingly as well. Maybe Colares can make it, semi-competitive. He is very tough. He is very gritty. But in terms of the striking, I think it's going to be very, very bad. But like I said, I don't know if he finishes Colares, because Colares has next-level toughness. Like, this guy can take an absolute beating. And so we'll see. I think Chris Gutiérrez does win. He does win it by a very convincing decision. Maybe Colares can have some moments here and there, but on the feet, it's just not competitive. So we take a look at the line here, and we do see that Chris Gutiérrez opened up minus 250. Money's actually coming in on Colares, surprisingly. He's now down to minus 240. As far as Colares opened up plus 210. He is now at plus 205. So, yeah, it's a big line, but yeah, I think Chris Gutiérrez does look like a decent sized favorite here. We see the fight goes to decision minus 190. The fight doesn't go to decision. Is plus 150. I kind of like that fight goes at minus 190, to be honest. But yeah, Colares minus 240, or the fight goes or doesn't go. What are your thoughts on that, Weezy?
Yeah, the way I see him finishing the fight is with the leg kicks. Like I say, you can be as tough as nails, dude. Your leg's deaden on you. If you can't stand, you're done in a fight. So, and unless you pull one of those dumbass moves like Andre Sukumta did against O'Malley when O'Malley hurt his leg and then he laid on top of him for the last 3.5 minutes of the fight instead of standing him back up. Yeah, Gutiérrez won't do that, but you're right, dude. Colares is incredibly tough. That beating that he took against Montel Jackson was next level. So I wouldn't touch the fight doesn't go here, because I think that's only really baked into the win condition for Gutiérrez here. So yeah, I would just bet the Gutiérrez money line instead of touching those time props. But it's a little wide for me, man. I'm not going to be running into the window at minus 240.
Yeah, I don't think I will be either. There are some decent parlay pieces on this card, and I don't think Chris Gutiérrez is one that I am going to have, but I don't hate it as a parlay piece, Chris Gutiérrez. I think he does get it done. We have a dono in the chat, Stefan. What is up, Stefan? Sending in a super sticker. Appreciate you for hanging out and appreciate the dono. Thank you a ton. So I say we move on. Yita saying, what are you guys betting? No bets yet. I have no bets yet. Weezy, have any bets yet?
Yeah, I actually did bet the I bet Loopy while we were talking for 1.7 units to win one. And he said, where are you guys betting? So I'm betting on Bet Online and DraftKings, and I have a FanDuel account as well, but I'm definitely looking to get more access to more books. If you're going to be doing this long-term, placing a good amount of bets, those little extra advantages you get, minus 5% here and there, can make a big difference in a line. So, I try to bet on Bet Online early in the week because they usually get the lines out the fastest.
Yep. What line did you get Loopy at?
Minus 171.
She's now minus 170.
You son of a God damn it. And see, it doesn't matter. As long as it doesn't go anywhere below minus 170, I'll be fine.
Yeah, I'm weird that line moved just like one. That's funny, but yeah, I like that. I like that bet, Weezy. I'll probably be right there with you. Appreciate you too, MCG. Thank you for hanging out. He's saying I'm in CA. There is no good books. I think Bovada's decent. Bet Online, if you can get it, is decent. Those are probably my favorite too, to be honest. But yeah, you don't have access to FanDuel or DraftKings, which are probably the best out there in terms of line movement, in terms of good lines, in terms of good props as well. So I say we move on though to the next fight on the card. We have a very fun one. Phil Hawes going against Deron Winn. We have Phil Hawes, 32 years old, 6 foot with a 77-inch reach. Deron Winn, 32 years old, 5'6", 70-inch reach. Deron Winn broke my heart. I was on vacation. I was with Nick, who's also on Pub Sports, and also Danny with Pub Sports as well. And me and Danny were watching the fight. We were watching Winn versus Ahoyo. I had a bet on Ahoyo. Ahoyo, if you remember those weigh-ins, Ahoyo looked like 5 or 4 weight classes bigger than Winn, and Winn took him down 12 times. You could only imagine me, Weezy. I was standing up, yelling at my screen, yelling at Antonio Ahoyo, and that's where my hatred for him really started, in that fight right there. I think Ahoyo has not been cut from the UFC, but I think he will be very soon. But Deron Winn is going to be another fight where he's going to be at a big size disadvantage. He's going to have a 6-inch height disadvantage and also a 7-inch reach disadvantage as well. We take a look at the last few fights. Phil Hawes is 5-0 in his last 5 fights. He did make his UFC debut. I believe it was against Jacob Malkoun, knocked him out in a couple seconds there. And then he had a decision against Nasruddin Imavov and also a decision win over Kyle Daukaus. Both some very solid wins there, to be honest. Like Imavov, I think he's the real deal. Kyle Daukaus, we just saw what he did last night although it was a no contest. Unfortunate head clash there. And then as far as Deron Winn, he is 3-2 in his last 5 fights. He made his UFC debut against Eric Spicely. Outpointed him to a decision there, had a split decision loss against Darren Stewart, a fight where he gassed out bad, a submission loss against Gerald Meerschaert, where Meerschaert was piecing him up the entire fight. I think he knocked him down, hurt him bad at the end of the fight, and then ended up submitting him there. And then an Antonio Arroyo win there by decision, taking him down a good 12 times. So, really fun fight here, Weezy. I actually do like this one. Anything sticking out on this one?
Yeah, I mean, we just kind of got to talk about what Deron Winn does in the cage, and that, he uses his wrestling to fight to his best win condition. He didn't want to be on the ground with Spicely, so he didn't go to the ground with Spicely because he's a wrestler. He could stop Spicely's takedown attempts, and he pieced him up with his boxing because Spicely has no boxing. But then if we watch every other fight after that, we know that Deron Winn is entirely dependent on his wrestling because his striking is very low level for the UFC. He could beat a guy like Spicely with his striking, but guys like, Stewart, Meerschaert, and Arroyo would have been way too much for him on the feet. Phil Hawes is going to be way too much for him on the feet with that crazy power that Hawes brings to the equation here. 1.5% of Phil Hawes' strikes are resulting in a knockdown, Brady. And, Deron Winn not immune to being knocked down. But, we can't talk about Deron Winn without talking about the wrestling. The guy is an absolutely legit freestyle wrestler. However, great freestyle wrestlers that wrestle D1, wrestled very high level. They have about 8 minutes of gas, and an MMA fight is 15 minutes. So we have seen Deron Winn gas out in the past, having to continually shoot takedowns in order to mask how poor he is on the feet in comparison to his opponents. And then we look at that one key stat. We say, okay, we know that Phil Hawes has a wrestling background. We know that he's going to be the far better striker here. But what have we seen in takedown defense from him? And we have seen 100% takedown defense. In 5 fights, 7 takedown attempts, he's stopped all of them. Phil Hawes is out-controlling his opponents 43% to 11%, exactly what we'd like to see. We want him to be the stronger guy. We want him to own the control time positions in this fight. If he does that, Deron Winn has no chance. No chance. The only chance that Deron Winn has here is to use that fantastic wrestling that he has in order to get takedowns, to rack up control time, win minutes, and bank rounds. That's the only chance, because Phil Hawes now all of a sudden is showing cardio. We know he's got great wrestling, but on the feet, it's not even close. So while we've seen Deron Winn in his UFC career with 33% control time for and 2% control time against, we see what he's very good at. He's good at out-controlling his opponents. However, Phil Hawes does the same shit. 43% control time for, only 11% control time against, and 100% takedown defense. So, and then not only that, we're seeing Deron Winn he's been taken down twice. He's got 0% takedown defense in the UFC. So, it's hard to picture winning this fight any other way than by split decision, where he just out wrestles Phil Hawes for the better part of 15 minutes. Other than that, man, this should be one-sided. It should be fairly easy for Hawes as long as his wrestling defense holds up.
I like Hawes so much in this fight and every single aspect of it. You mentioned Deron Winn. His takedown defense is sitting at 0%. Darren Stewart took him down. Gerald Meerschaert took him down. And Phil Hawes can very well take him down as well. Phil Hawes took down Kyle Dawkins. So do you think he's scared of taking down Deron Winn? Absolutely not. So I see that as a path to victory. Phil Hawes took down Nasruddin Imavov 4 times, who's probably a better grappler there than Deron Winn. Not a better wrestler, but a better grappler than Deron Winn there. Yeah. So do you think he's scared of taking down Deron Winn? Absolutely not. And no. Phil Hawes with cardio is a very scary guy, because this is a guy that you take a look at him outside of the UFC on the Contender Series. He's a guy that has about maybe 5 minutes of gas, but in the Imavov fight, he showed somewhat of a gas tank. And then the Dawkins fight, he showed a phenomenal gas tank. It was Dawkins who was gassed out and tired after a ton of grappling exchanges, after a ton of, holding each other against the fence for pretty much the whole fight. So I don't know if this is a hot take or not. It's looking like it's not, but I think Phil Hawes actually has the better cardio than Deron Winn. Deron Winn's cardio is terrible. So, man, I just don't really see many paths to victory for Deron Winn. I think the striking is not really close and competitive. Deron Winn, he has about a 50% strike and defense, and Phil Hawes hits very, very, very hard. Phil Hawes can take him down. I don't know if Winn can take him down. If he does, I think Winn, Hawes can get back up. Hawes is very strong. He's very, very strong. Very hard to take down. Like you said, 100% takedown defense. But yeah, I do like Hawes here quite a bit. And I think I do like Hawes inside the distance as well. Deron Winn has been submitted before. Has he been knocked out? He hasn't been, right?
According to my stats, he has only been submitted in losses.
He got knocked down
just once by Mearshart. So he's only lost twice. You talk about experience in this fight. Hawes actually has the experience advantage, as Deron Winn only has 9 pro fights.
Yeah, Planet says his Winn's only path to victory is a KO, and I kind of agree with that because Hawes has shown to be a little bit chinny at times. Nasruddin Imavov was cracked. He was like wobbling bad when Imavov was hitting him. So I guess that is my only concern, is a potential Winn knockout. But other than that, I just don't see many paths to victory for Nasruddin Imavov. So we'll take a look at the odds here, and we do see that Hawes is a very big favorite, one of the biggest favorites on the entire card. He opened up as if I can find it. There it is. So he opened up as a minus 220 favorite, currently minus 275. I would have loved that minus 220 line. Now minus 275, and then Deron Winn opened up plus 185, and he's currently plus 235. So, yeah, I'm kind of tempted in either parlaying up Phil Hawes, laying the hammer on Phil Hawes, or maybe betting Phil Hawes inside the distance. I do know that Phil Hawes is one of my more confident spots on the entire card. I think it's a phenomenal matchup for him, and on the feet, I like him. I think he could even mix in takedowns here or there. I think he has the cardio advantage. Crazy as it sounds, I think he has the cardio advantage, and I do like him to get it done, probably inside the distance.
Yeah, I agree with you there, man. Like, the only thing that's like keeping me from hammering this bet is the possibility that Hawes does lose this fight, and it would be like such post-traumatic bet disorder that I might even just quit being a YouTube analyst because, like, couldn't you just picture that, Brady? Like, you're like, yeah, man, Hawes, I'm going to make him my ass shaving of the week. He's got 100% takedown defense. He could dominate Deron on the ground. It's not even close on the feet. Hawes has way more power. This is easy. And then you see Winn just get takedown after takedown, and you're just sitting there screaming at the TV. Like, it's almost like I can only picture it in my nightmares, but my nightmares are the only thing keeping me from running to the window here. I don't know how to process this, dude. You got to help me.
Yeah, maybe it could look kind of like the Darren Stewart fight. I went back and watched that fight today where Deron Winn looked really good in the first round. He went out there and got, 3 takedowns in the first round, got 4 minutes and 15 seconds of control time. But in round 2 and round 3, he really dropped off. His cardio looked horrible. I think it kind of looked like that, but Phil Hawes is a much better wrestler than Darren Stewart. Darren Stewart has like a 67% takedown defense. So, we take a look at the fight goes to decision. It is sitting at plus money. It is at, there it is. So it's sitting at plus 105. Plus 105 for the fight goes, and minus 145 for the fight doesn't go. I kind of like that fight doesn't go. How about you?
Yeah, well, that's telling you that they think that, obviously with the line being that wide, they're thinking that, Hawes not only has a great chance to win, but to win inside the distance. And I could see Winn is the kind of guy who I think will be a quitter when he finds out I have no chance to out wrestle this guy. And if that winds up being the case, like let's say in that first round, he's out there actively trying to get takedowns, and Hawes is just stuffing those takedowns and putting hands on him, I could see Winn just saying, you know what, man, I'll take my show check and just get the fuck out of here, because Phil Hawes is terrifying, dude. Hawes is terrifying. In comparison to Deron Winn, he is terrifying. So, yeah, I do see Hawes getting this done. And if he really frustrates Winn with his offensive wrestling attack early, yeah, I see him getting it done inside the distance.
OKK saying Hawes has no gas tank. That's what I thought too, man. But nope.
Yeah, neither does Winn, man. Trust me. His Winn's gas tank is nothing to talk about.
Yeah,
And
Hawes,
and Hawes has shown improvements. And here's the other thing that we have to talk about with Hawes in that Imavov fight. When he was getting cracked, when he was on skates, he showed amazing fight IQ by just rushing into the clinch, using his strength to stall and recover. You gotta love to see that if for a fighter that you're betting on. 100% takedown defense, a good wrestling attack, good power, and that even when he does get cracked, he's showing good fight IQ. Yeah, I think maybe minus 275. I might have to just, get past my nightmares and just admit that Phil Hawes has got a really good chance of winning this fight.
Yeah, I think so as well. Back to that fight doesn't go at minus 145. It kind of covers both sides because Phil Hawes, I believe, has been finished in both of his losses, one by submission, one by knockout. I do seriously have some chin concerns about Phil Hawes. So maybe the fight doesn't go at minus 145, kind of cover both sides. If Winn was to win, I do think it would probably be by knockout. So, but I think the most likely scenario is Hawes does get him out of there. But yeah, really good fight. Weezy, looking forward to that one. A fight that I'm not looking forward to. Mariya Agapova, Sabina Mazo. Agapova, never forget it. I was very high on her in DraftKings. Didn't bet her. I bet the under 1.5. Thank goodness I did. Expecting Agapova to go out there and finish Dobson within the first round. But no, it was Dobson cashing that under 1.5 for me, which I would have never expected. I remember having no Shannon Dobson on DraftKings. I remember being, just about 100% owned on Mariya Agapova on DraftKings, and I was shocked. That was the most shocked I was the entire year. It was up there with Rodolfo Vieira getting submitted by Fluffy Hernandez. Those were my two biggest upsets of the year. And she's back. She's back here going against Sabina Mazo, who I'm not high on as well. Like, I really don't like this fight at all. Not looking forward to it. Not looking forward to talking about it, but we got to on this show, right? We have Sabina Mazo. She is 24 years old, 5'7" with a 70-inch reach. Agapova, 24 years old, 5'6" with a 68-inch reach. So Agapova is going to be 1 inch smaller in height and have 2 inches less of reach. In terms of the last few fights, Sabina Mazo is 3-2 in her last 5 fights. A decision loss over Marina Rodriguez, a decision win over Shanna Dobson, MMA math there, a split decision win over JJ Aldrich, a submission win over Justine Quiche, a decision loss to Alexis Davis. And then as far as Agapova, she is 3-2 in her last 5 fights, a decision loss to Tracy Cortez, a submission win over Alexa Connors, a knockout win over Marila Santos, a submission win over Hannah Cyphers, and a knockout loss to Shanna Dobson, who is now retired from the UFC and MMA. So, Weezy, can you tell me anything about this fight?
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the greatest fights that we could ever hope to profit from recency bias. I mean, Mariya Agapova coming off of one of the most spectacular bed shittings in the history of MMA. I mean, can we talk about that for a second? I mean, how many people do you remember losing as a minus 1,000 favorite, Brady? I mean, Mariya Agapova, Devontae Smith against Kama Worthy. I mean, maybe Holly Holm beating Ronda Rousey.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about a spectacular bed shitting, a bed shitting for the decades, for the centuries, and MMA is a young sport. So, but you don't get to be a minus 1,000 favorite unless people have seen some things in you that would lead you to believe that you could dominate a fight. And Mariya Agapova comes out like she's been doing cocaine, like she just comes out with everything, just throws the kitchen sink at you. And then eventually, obviously the gas tank just completely empties and she's done. And she showed some really bad fight IQ there, emptying the gas tank, trying to finish Shanna Dobson because she doesn't hit particularly hard. She seems to be a volume puncher, but it seems like the volume is what knocks you down rather than really big shots. So, and then we talk about Sabina Mazo. She's, both of these ladies are good prospects, 24 years old. At 24 years old, both of these ladies have 11 fights. Agapova, 3 fights at the UFC level. Mazo, 5. Agapova, great finisher, 77% finish rate in those nine wins. So 7 out of 9 coming inside the distance, 4 by submission, 3 by knockout. She's been finished in one of her 2 losses. The other loss was to Tracy Cortez, who dominated her for 3 rounds with the wrestling. But that was a great fight, if I remember correctly. I remember that being a real war, and being very impressed with Mariya Agapova, which is why Agapova got that shot in the UFC, coming off a loss on the Contender Series. It was because it was an impressive loss to a really good fighter in Cortez. And then we look over at Mazo, and we see some really nice striking numbers. Look at this. I mean, like, this is for a girl who's only 3-2. You know, these are the numbers of somebody who's like 5-0. 6.56 significant strikes landed per minute, only 3.91 absorbed. 45% striking accuracy, but 60% striking defense. She's been 4 of 5 on her takedown, so very efficient when she goes to her takedown game. About 60% of her fights are taking place at striking range, while for Agapova, it's about 75% almost. So yeah, these ladies are gonna be. This is a good fight, dude. Mazo actually longer with the 2-inch reach advantage, but Agapova is the southpaw. Agapova is fighting out of 8 American Top Team right now, and Mazo is fighting out of King's MMA. So you got 2 young prospects who are improving, and they're training at good camps where they could soak up a lot of knowledge. But I think that no matter what, you can't objectively look at this fight and not understand that Agapova is going to be underpriced because of that bed shitting against Dobson. So I'm thinking like the value here is on Agapova. I'd like to move prior to that fight and see if she can keep up this pace for a little bit longer. If training at ATT has her fighting a little bit smarter now, conserving that gas tank a little bit, using that good length that she has in order to pepper her opponents. And then, you know, both of these ladies are getting takedowns at a really good clip. 66% for Agapova, 80% for Mazo. They both are controlling their opponents around 15% of the time. So this might not just be a striking match, even though that's what both of these ladies do best. So I think it's a good all-around fight. I do like Agapova here just a little bit because Mazo has shown some weakness on the ground, in my opinion. And I think that Agapova might be able to have some success if she can get it there. Which way are you seeing this one?
Yeah, I mean, it's a dog or pass for me as well, Weezy, but do I want to bet Agapova? There's just too many question marks, right? Like, can she keep up the pace for 15 minutes? She gassed out after 5 minutes in her last fight against Shanna Dobson, who's retired. So that's my only concern. But yeah, I think, like you mentioned, the path to victory for Agapova would be, for one, you know, keeping up the pace for 50 minutes, and 2, taking down Mazo. Alexis Davis was able to take down Mazo 3 times, and she controlled her for 8 minutes and 50 seconds of the fight. Justine Kish took her down once as well. Who else took her down? I think, Marina Rodriguez took her down as well. So yeah, she can be taken down. She can be held down. I think that could be a path to victory for Agapova. But can she keep it up for 15 minutes? I don't know. I do like that she's training at AT&T. I like that for this fight. But do I want to put my money on it? To be honest, no. I kind of want to stay far away from this fight. I want to see if Mariya Agapova did make improvements with her cardio. I don't know if she's just going to come out here and starch Sabina Mazo. Like, Mazo is not a bum by any means. And if she didn't starch Shanna Dobson, I don't think she's going to starch Mazo, because I'm actually pretty high on Mazo. I think she's a good striker. But yeah, I'm with you there. I think the value probably is on the underdog. But is it intriguing enough to bet it? Let's see what the line is. So we do see that Agapova is the underdog. She opened up as a plus 155 dog. She's now plus 131. Mazo opened at minus 180. She's currently minus 151. So money is actually coming in on the Agapova side. I do agree with it. Just don't know if I want to get involved. I kind of want to see the improvements first before I make any other wagers on Agapova. But I 100% agree with you that this could be a very good buy low spot in terms of Agapova. Fight goes to decision, minus 185. Fight doesn't go to decision, is plus 145. Any thoughts on the line, or the fight goes or doesn't go?
Well, if I'm getting plus money on the fight doesn't go, and I see Agapova's got a 77% finish rate for and a 50% finish rate against, and you know, we could potentially see her continuing to fight that style, that all out, right out of the gate style that would, lend itself to a finish. We're getting plus money there. But the thing is, what we don't know is that both these girls are so young that they can be making huge improvements here. So, it kind of feels like a stay away here. I'm going to have to really look into this, but Sabina Mazo has fought the much better competition, you guys. Alexis Davis, Justine Keech, JJ Aldrich, Marina Moroz, and she's got the win over Dobson while Agapova has the loss. So I could see why Agapova coming off that bed shitting, coming off, the MMA math favoring Mazo here, the level of competition favoring Mazo here, Mazo having a 2-inch reach advantage and having fought a higher percentage of her career at the UFC level and having slightly better striking numbers as well, even though not as much power as Mariya. Yeah, I kind of see that the line is probably about where it should be. I don't see me running the window to bet either side of this fight. I think it's very fairly priced right now, unfortunately.
Yeah, I don't see myself betting this fight or getting anywhere near it. Chase Collins saying I might make my first YouTube video about where is Hannah Cifers. I think
where is
that'd be
Hannah
cool.
Cifers?
Yeah, like making a YouTube series on a fighter, like where is Hannah Cifers? Where is Shanna Dobson? I think that'd be a very fun series.
Yeah, I agree.
And we have the GOAT. Oh, there's the GOAT, Tajik Bey. Great show as always. Shout out to the GOAT, Tajik. So Tajik Bey, the GOAT, was the only person on planet Earth to call the fight goes to decision in the main event. The only person in the world. So shout out to him. He is the GOAT for the reason, always supporting the MMA community. He was on the Best Bet stream with me, Weezy, and Narco on Saturday. I thought he did great. Would like to see him back on some more pods. He was all over the place last week. Nice to see him out and about. Shout out to you, Tajik.
Absolutely, man. It was really good to see him. What a great supporter of the community. Got to say big ups to my man, and thank you for the donation.
100%. Nick saying 1-800-GAMBLER. I agree.
Yeah.
Chase saying Weezy Agapova will shave ass.
Maybe she will, man. Hey, she was minus 1,000 in her last fight, and she's young. She's making improvements. So is Mazo. They're both at good camps. This could wind up being a real banger. We just kind of got to see. We got to see, this fight's going to tell us a lot about both fighters for sure. And it's going to tell us a lot more about Agapova in terms of where she's at in her career and what kind of improvements she's making, because this is a bit of a step up for her, especially from Shanna Dobson.
Yep, 100%. Another dono from the GOAT. He's saying, I'll be back. Shout out to Taji. Thank you for hanging out. And thank you, as always, for the support. So we will move on. This is a kind of a short card, short and sweet this week. We have 11 fights, and we are getting closer to the end. We do have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fights left to break down. Actually 4 to break down. So wait, can't count. 5 to break down. Yeah. There we go. So yeah, should be a fun one here. We have Randy Brown going against Jared Gooden. We have Brown, who is 31 years old, 6'3", with a 78-inch reach, going against Jared Gooden, 27 years old, 6 foot, with a 77-inch reach. So Brown is going to be 3 inches taller in height. He's going to be 4 years older, and he's also going to have a 1-inch reach advantage. Take a look at the last few fights. So Jared Gordon did make his UFC debut against Alan Jouban, lost by decision. And then he fought Abubakar Nurmagomedov. He lost by decision. And then he goes out there as a dog and knocks out Nicolas Stolze within the first minute, which that's impressive. That was pretty impressive there. And 3-2 in his last 5 fights. As far as Randy Brown, 3-2 in his last 5 fights as well. Knockout loss to Nico Price, the classic hammer fist from bottom. Knockout win over Brian Barberena. Definitely looked like the shell of Brian Barberena. I think that was when Barberena was coming off that war with Vicente Luque, one of the best fights I've ever seen. And then he submits Warley Alves, which was surprising. That was very surprising there. I think it was like in the second round. I think Alves slowed down and then got knocked out by Vicente Luque and then submitted Alex Oliveira, which submitting him is easy to do, but he did hurt Oliveira really bad, which is not easy to do whatsoever. So, yeah, intriguing fight, Weezy. What's sticking out to you on this one?
Yeah, so Jared Gooden, actually the more experienced mixed martial artist here, having about 70 more minutes of cage time almost in comparison to Randy Brown. However, the big difference when we look at the experience is that Brown has fought over half of his career at the UFC level. As a matter of fact, it's almost 2/3 of his career. While for Jared Gooden, it's 1/8 of his career. So we're talking about 66% versus 12.5%. So even though Gooden has more fights and is a little more experienced and has more cage time, it's been Randy Brown that's been fighting the higher level of competition for a much higher percentage of his career. And if we look over at the strength schedule metrics that I have for you here, we can see that Brown has been fighting the much better credentialed brand of UFC competition when we look at a 1.74 win-loss ratio as compared to a 1 win-loss ratio and much less experienced competition for Jared Gooden. And then if we look at the wins, Nicholas Stolte 0-2, that's Jared Gooden's only win, while we're looking at guys with winning records in 8 UFC fights when Randy Brown gets a win. His average guy that he beats has a 4.71 and 3.29 record with a 1.43 win-loss ratio. And if we look at the losses, Alan Jouban and Nurmagomedov are the losses for Gooden, while we're looking at some guys like Nico Price and Luque and Randy Brown's got 4 UFC losses. If we do on the aggregate, the average guy that beats him has a record of 7-3. So yeah, Randy Brown fought a higher percentage of his career at the UFC level, has fought the tougher brand of competition. If we look at finish numbers, we see that Gooden is a great finisher, finishing 77% of his 18 wins inside the distance, which is 14 out of those 18 wins coming inside the distance. For Randy Brown, we're talking about 84% finish rate. So, that would be 11 out of 13 wins coming inside the distance for Brown. So both of these guys, excellent finishers. And when we talk about how they get finished, Jared Gooden has only been finished in 1 of his 6 losses, while Randy Brown has been finished in 3 out of his 4 losses. The striking numbers, in my opinion, edge to Brown here, as he's got about 5% better striking accuracy, a little bit better knockdowns per total significant strikes landed, slightly better striking defense, although Brown has been a little bit chinnier, being knocked down on one time in 300 significant strikes absorbed, while Gooden has never been knocked down. If we get to these grappling numbers, we're going to see that Gooden's fights have taken place at striking range a little over 80% of the time, while for Randy Brown, it's less than 50% of the time that his fights are taking place at striking range. As a matter of fact, it's only about 45%. So Randy Brown has been very efficient with his takedowns in the UFC, getting about half of them, 7 of 15. He's averaging less than 1 takedown per 15 minutes and getting about 25.87% control time, while he's showing 71% takedown defense. He's getting taken down more than he takes down his opponents, and he's getting out-controlled at about a 5% clip. While Jared Gooden has shown pretty damn good takedown defense thus far in the UFC, defending 5 of 6 successfully, and only being controlled for 14% of his UFC career. And at 31 minutes, that's about 4.5 minutes that he's been controlled. So it's not a whole lot. But yeah, Brown definitely got the better strength of schedule here. He's probably a little bit better on the feet, but he's notoriously long for this division. Even though he only has a 1-inch reach advantage, I think we're going to see Gooden being the kind of bricked up muscular guy here, while Brown being that super long, skinny, rangy dude that throws strikes from very strange angles. He's a very difficult opponent to prepare for because of his unique build. So this is a step up for Gooden. The Stolte fight, he handled that fight like you'd like to see a good prospect like Gooden at only 27 years of age. Jared Gooden is not even in his prime yet, and he's already got 24 professional fights. So even though Randy Brown's a fairly big favorite here, you got to be careful, because a guy like Gooden is so dangerous, and we're talking about he's matching Randy Brown's power numbers, and he's shown pretty good takedown defense. So if Brown doesn't like how it's going on the feet, he may have a tough time getting Gooden down to the ground here. This is a very intriguing fight for me, because I'm a huge Randy Brown fan. You can't buy or train for those kind of physical gifts that he has. And he's very dangerous everywhere. And he's fought the much better competition, but Gooden has got serious power in those hands. And if he lands, man, he can put you out. And Randy Brown has been finished in 3 of those 4 losses. So I don't know. I might be leaning fight doesn't go to decision here, but I'm going to have to see where that line is, because I think Gooden is more live to finish Brown than the other way around, actually, even though Brown's the favorite, because Gooden has been notoriously hard to finish as a pro, while Randy Brown has been finished 75% of his losses. So help me out here, dude. What angles are you seeing in this one?
No, I think you summed it up pretty good. And yeah, that is a concern, right? Brown has been finishing 3 of his 4 losses. Like you said, 2 of them coming by knockout, and Jared Gooden can absolutely crack. I think this fight's going to stay standing. I think Brown maybe tries to get it down to the mat, but like you said, Gooden has very, very good takedown defense. So if he does try, will he be successful in doing so? I'm not so sure. So I kind of see this playing out on the feet. And at that point, should Randy Brown be as big of a favorite as he is? Because when I saw the line, I was kind of surprised, because I'm kind of playing out in my head, and I'm like, they're probably just going to strike for 15 minutes. And at that point, should Randy Brown, be a minus 240 favorite? I don't know. He opened up minus 200. He went all the way down to minus 250. He's now back to minus 240. As far as Jared Gooden, he opened up plus 170, and he's currently plus 205. Yeah, I got to go with Brown here. I think he is the better striker. He's fought the much better competition, and it's not even close. But this line just seems slightly wide to me. In terms of the fight goes to decision, it is plus 140. The fight doesn't go to decision is minus 180. I really don't know if I like that line either. Any thoughts on the Brown minus 240 thoughts, and then thoughts on the fight doesn't go minus 180?
God, man, it's hard, because I do like Randy Brown, and I think he probably wins this fight more times than he loses it. But there's, it's Randy Brown is one of those guys who looks like the sky is the limit for him, and then he'll just go out there and just kind of get caught. And Jared Gooden is the kind of guy who can catch you, So I think I'm staying away. I don't have the balls to bet Gooden here, but I think that line is a little bit too wide to bet Brown. And the one thing I wanted to note is I just kind of looked at the control time numbers against for Gooden, and that one takedown that he gave up yielded about 250 seconds of control time to Nurmagomedov. So, but you don't see Randy Brown having that kind of game. So, I think there might be a potential, because Nurmagomedov did take him down 1 out of 5 times, and he got the control time when he did get that takedown. So maybe Randy Brown, if he can find one takedown here and rack up some control time with that takedown and threaten some submissions, that I would feel a lot better knowing if he was going to do that once and get it once, that I'd feel a lot better about that line that he's at. But if I can't do it at this line right now, because I haven't seen enough of it out of Randy Brown. He's not a control time monster.
Yeah, I feel like I'm with you. I feel like the line is wide. I feel like this fight does have potential to finish, but I'm not so sure I want to lay minus 180 on it finishing, though. Another donation from the GOAT, Tajik. Appreciate that, Tajik. Jay liking the fight ends at the distance. I think it could. I just don't like the line, to be honest. We'll see where that line does go. What else have we missed in here? Big J, love the show, guys. Keep it up. Appreciate you, Big J, for hanging out. Let's see what we got here. Thomas saying scary fight for sure, sure.
It is.
All right, so we will move on to the next one here, and we have this should be a very fun fight. I'm a big Tim Elliott guy. I like Matheus Nicolau as well. We have Tim Elliott going against Nicolau. Elliott is 34 years old, 5'7" with a 66-inch reach. He's training out of Glory MMA, I believe, for the past 1 or 2 fights with James Krause, and he looked really good in his last fight against Jordan Espinoza. I thought that was probably, one of the smartest fights that Tim Elliott fought. He fought extremely smart. He went in there, just took down Espinoza over and over again, and was able to control him for about 15 minutes. Didn't get a finish, but looked dominant in that fight. So, like I said, he was 34 years old, 5'7" with a 66-inch reach. In terms of Nicolau, 28 years old, 5'6" with a 66-inch reach. Last 5 fights. Nicolau is 4-1 in his last 5 fights. He had a win over Marina Rodriguez by decision, a win against John Moraga by decision, a win against Luis Smolka by decision, a knockout loss to Dustin Ortiz, and then a decision win over Manel Kopp. I had a bet on Nicolau in that fight. It was a close fight. It was a very close fight. A lot of people thought Kopp won. I thought Nicolau won, but that might have been because I had a bet on him. But it was very, very close regardless. It was close, but yeah, he very well could have lost that one. But I think Kopp's a good fighter. In terms of Tim Elliott, a submission loss to Davison Figueiredo, a decision loss to Askar Askarov, a submission loss to Brandon Royval. 3 very, very good fighters, right?
Yeah.
Davidson Figueiredo, Askar Askarov, Brandon Royval, 3 of the top guys in the division. And then Ryan Benoit by decision, and then Jordan Espinosa by decision. So 2 huge giant step downs in competition from those first 3. So yeah, Uncle Weezy, very intriguing fight. I feel like this fight is going to be one that does play out primarily on the mat. Anything stick out to you on this one?
Yeah, how about those 99 takedown attempts out of Tim Elliott? And then if we look at his last 2 fights, while he's been at Glory MMA, I believe him and Gina Mazzani, who's his girlfriend, have moved over there. And we're talking about 1 of 13 on takedown attempts was Elliott against Ryan Benoit, and then 4 of 7 on takedowns against Jordan Espinosa. And he racked up 799 seconds of control time out of 900 for a massive, just easy victory in that fight. So it's nice to see him going to that wrestling. But the great thing about Elliott is it's not just the move to Glory MMA. I mean, we look at the fights before that: 10 takedown attempts, 11 takedown attempts, 3, 1, 2, 14, 4, 2, 3, 4, 6, 14, 5. This guy has never not attempted a takedown in a fight. So he's always looking to get this fight to the ground. He's always looking to outcontrol his opponents. He's racked up over 3,500 seconds of control time in his UFC career. I mean, that is so much. I mean, 300 seconds is 5 minutes, so 12 times 5 is like, that's, my God, it's 60 minutes of control time in his UFC career. This guy is really good at doing that. And if we look at Nicolau on the defensive side, he's not giving up control time. And he's not giving up control time to guys like Dustin Ortiz and John Moraga. He knocked out Ortiz in the first round, which is a huge feather in his cap. Or I'm sorry, Ortiz knocked him out in the first round. That's the only time that I've seen Dustin Ortiz win a fight without racking up a bunch of control time and getting a bunch of takedowns. But yeah, those wins against Kopp, Smoka, Moraga, and Rodriguez, all pretty impressive, Yeah. So let's kind of look at these numbers side by side, though, as we see, Nicolau, the much younger guy, but we got to remember Nicolau was coming off how long of a layoff there was that?
3 years. 3 years.
Yeah, dude, it was so long. The Ortiz fight was in 2018. So yeah, it was almost a 3-year layoff between fights. And then, like I say, I had a bet on Nicolau in that fight too, man. I needed a shower after catching it. That was definitely a 50-50. Could have went either way. It was like the Selecki fight last night, or the Serkinov fight, where you're like, damn, man, that could have went either way. But if you're holding the minus money ticket, you didn't make the best bet. But hey, we cashed it. But it was close, and Tim Elliott is the kind of guy that he's just a really unique challenge. He's very difficult to train for. He's got a very unique style. He's very unorthodox, but all those takedown attempts, you gotta love it, because Nicolau, in his 5 UFC fights, Brady, he's only had 3 takedowns shot against him.
Yep.
So this is going to be very interesting. Matheus Nicolau has outcontrolled his opponents at a 22.75% to 1.15%. So he really hasn't fought anybody yet that he felt like was going to out wrestle him, except for Dustin Ortiz, who wound up knocking him out in the first round. So just on that alone, on that information alone, Tim Elliott is interesting here as an underdog. What does Nicolau do well? Well, he's shown some power, man. 2.12% knockdowns per total significant strikes landed. He's averaging 1.2 knockdowns per 15 minutes. More accurate striker. But both of these guys are landing more than they absorb. But Matheus Nicolau's striking metrics are very impressive. Yeah. 67% striking defense. But we do see him getting knocked down as well as knocking down his opponents. So even though Matheus has 1.2 knockdowns per 15 minutes, he's absorbing 0.48 knockdowns per 15 minutes. So Elliott, not a power guy, though, obviously. We don't think of Tim Elliott as knocking people out. He's only racked up 1 knockdown in 614 significant strikes landed. So we're not looking for Tim Elliott to knock this dude out. But what we are looking for Tim to do is to use that wrestling that 32% to 22% control time for and against for Elliott, that 49 takedowns for, but only 18 takedowns attempt against. Tim Elliott's averaging 4 takedowns per 15 minutes. I could easily see him, if Matheus Nicolau's 100% takedown defense does not hold up, I could easily see Tim Elliott winning minutes, banking rounds with that wrestling, and just being a really difficult opponent for Matheus to get his striking attack off. But if this stays standing and Nicolau's takedown defense does hold up, I think he's going to be the far more dangerous, the far more powerful, and the far better defensive striker here. What do you think?
Yeah, so you take a look at Elliott in his last few fights, right? In his last 12 fights, here are his 4 wins. Luis Smolka, Mark De La Rosa, Ryan Benoit, and Jordan Espinoza. Like those aren't great, right? Like those aren't great at all. And that Ryan Benoit fight was really close. I remember having a bet on Tim Elliott in that fight, and I was like very, very scared that he was going to lose that fight. And then that Royval fight prior to that, he did gas out bad. But yeah, I really like Nicolau. I like both guys. I'm a fan of both guys. I like how well-rounded Nicolau is. You mentioned that 100% takedown defense, but he's only defended 3 takedowns, and he's a very, very, very good grappler. I like his grappling for sure, but his striking is very good as well. Close fight. I mean, if Tim Elliott can mix in the takedowns here or there, I think he could have success. But I don't know. I don't think it will be that easy. I don't think it will be as easy as taking down Espinoza. Even he had trouble taking down Ryan Benoit. Elliott was 1 for 13 against Ryan Benoit, who is probably not UFC caliber, to be honest. Let's see what he was against Mark De La Rosa. Against Mark De La Rosa, he was 1 for 1, ended up finishing him there. So, yep, I think I'm going to go with Nicolau, the more well-rounded fighter, the younger fighter, very high on this guy. This guy is very good. But Tim Elliott, he's a dog. He can make this close if he does get takedowns. Maybe he does have success on top, but Nicolau is no stranger to grappling in his own right. I think he's either a brown belt or a black belt. But yeah, very good grappler he is, as is Tim Elliott. So I think it's going to be a fun fight that does play out on the mat here and there. But if Nicolau can't keep it on the feet, I do think that's a big advantage. But I definitely can't see this hitting the mat one way or another. So we take a look at the odds here, and we do see that Nicolau is a pretty sizable favorite. He opened up minus 155. He's currently minus 192. Lots of money's been coming in on him as of late. And then we see that Tim Elliott opened up plus 135. He's currently plus 167. That line has moved drastically like the past couple hours. We see the fight goes to decision as minus 210. The fight doesn't go as plus 160. What I will say is I do like the fight goes. It is chalky, though. Tim Elliott has next level toughness. I don't really see either guy getting submitted as well unless Tim Elliott does gas out like he did in the Royval fight. But he's with James Krause now at Glory MMA. I don't think that's going to be a problem. I kind of see this going over. I see it going to decision, and my lean will be Nicolau by decision. But yeah, maybe take a look at the over 2.5 for the fight goes. I think both guys are extremely tough, and I don't really see either guy finishing the other guy. Any thoughts on the money line? It does seem a little bit wide, right? And then on the fight goes or fight doesn't go.
What did you say the money line was at right now?
Minus 190 Nicolau and then plus 165 Elliott.
Yeah, the plus money on Elliott's intriguing, but you kind of mentioned it, dude. If we look at the 6 wins for Elliott, the combined records of these guys are 18 and 28. So he's only beaten one guy with a winning record, and that's Smolka. But then if we look at the losses, the combined records of the guys that he's losing to, 65 and 29. And he's only lost to one guy with a losing record, and that's Zach Makovsky, who is 3 and 4. And then we look at Nicolau, his wins, his best win is Moraga, and his second best win is Smolka, and that's Tim Elliott's best win. So the losses to a guy like Ortiz at 8 and 6. So even though on paper, Nicolau's wins look better, it's just because he has less of them. It's weird, dude. I think if you put a gun to my head and made me bet this fight, I'd take the plus money on Elliott. But I think it's going to be a great fight, and I think it's going to be a high-paced fight. It's going to be a really interesting, unique test that we haven't seen Matheus Nicolau tested in this way yet. If his Brazilian jiu-jitsu is really good, I think that he'll have a problem, that Elliott will have a problem staying alive on the ground. But yeah, I'm leaning Nicolau, but I think the value is on Nicolau's opponent here.
Yeah, it's weird. We see Nicolau is minus 190 on BetOnline, but he's only minus 162 on FanDuel. So big difference there between the books, and then minus 165 on BetMGM as well. So BetOnline having the highest price tag on Nicolau. Tim Elliott plus 165 on BetOnline, but only plus 132 on FanDuel. So very interesting there. So we'll move on to the next fight. Man, this fight, I mean, Laureano Staropoli going against Jamie Pickett. Interesting fight. We have Pickett, who is 33 years old, 6'2", with an 80-inch reach. Staropoli, 28 years old, 6'1", 71-inch reach. Jamie Pickett is going to be 5 years older, but he will have a 1-inch height advantage and a massive 9-inch reach advantage. As far as Staropoli, he's going to be at a big reach disadvantage himself. And we'll take a look at the last few fights. So Pickett did make his UFC debut against, I believe it was Tafon in Chukwu, where Tafon pretty much, outpointed him for 3 rounds. He was on the Contender Series 2 times. He did lose to Punahele Soriano, who lost another time, but he did beat Jonathan Patty by knockout to end up into the UFC. So he's been on the Contender Series 3 times. He's had 2 UFC fights, went in there against Jordan Wright, got finished in the first round and pretty early as well, which this kind of surprised me, Weezy, because when you think of Jamie Pickett, you think of his durability. This guy has very good durability. So I was kind of shocked to not only see he lost to the Beverly Hills Ninja, but to see he lost in devastating fashion by a first round finish there against the Beverly Hills Ninja there. So that kind of surprised me. Laureano Staropoli has not been looking good himself on a 3-fight losing skid, but he is fighting some solid competition. A loss to Roman Dolidze, who was much bigger than him, kind of just like held him against the cage, took him down here and there for pretty much the whole fight. Tim Means, not a bad loss to have. Muslim Salikov, no matter how old he is, still not a bad loss to have. A win over Thiago Alves, and then a win over Hector Aldana, 2-3 in his last 5 fights. So it's a tough one, Weezy. I mean, it's not a tough one. I like Staropoli quite a bit, but it's tough because I feel like I can't trust either guy here. I feel like I'm not a big fan of either guy, especially on the Pickett side. I really don't think he's UFC caliber. But with that said, Staropoli's on a 3-fight skid. So can we really trust Staropoli to bounce back, get back on track? And on top of that, he's going to be at a massive reach disadvantage, which I don't like because this fight is primarily going to stay standing. But I like Staropoli. I like the striking, but I can't say I'm overly confident in it. Can you help me out here, Weezy?
I don't know, dude. I got post-traumatic bet disorder with Jamie Pickett. He was my most confident pick the week that he got his ass shaved by Jordan Wright, and that was really embarrassing for me. I think I even had a 2-unit bet on him. I was really confident that Wright is the kind of fighter who, if he doesn't finish you in the first, he has nothing left in the second usually. So I thought that Pickett would just, kind of weather the storm in the first and then go out there and finish it in the second or the third. But dude, this guy is not UFC level. He is 1-4 in the UFC thus far. The only win coming over Patti, who, probably, I think that they put Pickett in there to get Patti in there and it just didn't work out, but this guy is not good. He's not good. And then you look at the guys that Staropoli is fighting, Tim Means, Muslim Salikov, Roman Dolidze up here at 185. And these are close fights. These are not fights that these guys are winning, running away. As a matter of fact, I had a bet on Tim Means, and I was really sweating whether he would get that or not. It was a close fight, dude. Staropoli won one of those rounds, in my opinion, clearly. So I just think, if we look at the level of competition too, look at that ratio for Staropoli overall, 1.42 in comparison to Pickett's 1.17, and then 11.6 total fights to 2.6 for Pickett. So not only is he fighting the better win-loss competition, he's fighting the much more experienced competition. And then you look at the wins. I mean, the only win for Pickett is a guy who's 0-1 in the UFC at the Contender Series level. That's Jonathan Patti. And then we got, 14 total fights and a 1.15 ratio for Staropoli's wins. So he's actually got decent wins. And these guys that are beating him have 10 total fights and a 6.33 and 3.67 record. So Staropoli's just fought the much better competition. He was a huge welterweight. So and Jamie Pickett doesn't use his size at all. So I understand that it's a 9-inch reach disadvantage here for Staropoli. But I just don't see Pickett being technical enough anywhere in order to use that. I think Staropoli will win this clearly on the feet. We see Pickett's gotten some takedowns, but even though he's gotten 4 takedowns, he's amassed less than 4% control time with those takedowns. So even his wrestling is okay, but he's not keeping anybody there. And one of the problems that Staropoli has had is being out-wrestled. He's yielding 23% control time while only getting 2% control time. So people have been trying to take down Staropoli, but that's not part of Pickett's game. So I could see Staropoli easily outpointing Pickett here on the feet. He's the far more technical striker. He's far faster. He's fought the better competition. And I mean, I just don't. What the hell is Jamie Pickett good at?
Being tough.
Yeah, the tough guy that got knocked out by the Beverly Hills Ninja in the first round. So yeah, man, God, I don't want. I mean, and where is Staropoli on this money line? Is he like he's lower than -200, right?
On some books he is. There is money pouring in on Staropoli here. Opened up -150. I would have loved that line.
I would have loved that line too.
Oh
man.
yeah. Currently -221, and then he's So Pickett opened up +130. He's now currently +186 on FanDuel. He is -200, and then on BetMGM he is also -200. Those are the 2 best books that have him out. Fight goes to decision, -175. Fight doesn't go to decision is +135. I think this does go to decision, and I think Staropoli does win this decision as well.
I agree with you there. I like the fight goes to decision. I like Staropoli by decision. Staropoli's never knocked anybody down in the UFC. Pickett obviously has been knocked down, but it's just so hard to figure out what Jamie Pickett's good at this point or see how he wins this fight, even though he's the bigger dude, even though he's the longer dude. Theoretically, he's got more power. I just don't see him winning this fight, man.
Yeah, like how does he win it? Does he take down Staropoli? Staropoli does have a pretty bad takedown, even the 52%, but I just don't see it. Yeah, you're right. I think Staropoli does probably outpoint him for 50 minutes. Probably makes it look really easy as well. I mean, like you said, like the level of competition is just crazy. Roman Dolidze, Tim Means, Salikov, whereas Pickett lost it to Jordan Wright, the Beverly Hills Ninja.
Yeah. Yeah, dude.
Crazy.
Do you know what Muslim Salikov would do to Jamie Pickett, dude?
Oh,
it would be a murder. It would be a murder. I mean, after that fight, Jamie Pickett would be even uglier than Muslim Salikov. And people think that that's not even mathematically possible. But, I mean, that's what Salikov would do to this guy.
Do you know what Salikov would do to the Beverly Hills Ninja?
Oh, dude.
Oof.
That would be brutal. That would be brutal, dude. Muslim Salikov is just on another level on the feet. And, and this guy, and Staropoli's going to decision with this guy. Yep. Like the king of Kung Fu, one of the greatest strikers. He had one of the greatest striking pedigrees coming into the UFC. And Staropoli standing up with that guy, lasting with 3 rounds with that guy. I don't care if it's a 170. Pickett is not on Staropoli or on Staropoli's level, on Salikov's level, on Means' level, on Dolidze's level, even on Thiago Alves's 40-year-old level. I mean, I don't even think he's there. I think Alves takes him. So, I can't do it, man. I can't get to the plus money on Pickett here.
No, not at all. Like Dolidze, Tim Means, Salikov, no shame in any of those losses. But a loss to the Beverly Hills Ninja, there is some shame in that, right?
Yeah, and then not only that, like Nchukwu, he's a guy with 5 fights at the time that Pickett fought him, and he made him look like an amateur. I mean, Nchukwu's good. He's a great athlete. He's a solid fighter. He's muscular. He hits hard. But the guy's only got 5 professional fights going into that fight. And he made it easily looking at, with a guy in Pickett who had 3 times as much experience as him and a huge reach advantage.
Yeah.
So, yeah, dude. I mean, it's got to be Staropoli here, but I'm not running to the window to drop, over -200 on this guy.
Yeah. I get you there. It's tempting, man. It's tempting. I just don't think Pickett's UFC caliber. Whereas Staropoli, I do think he is. I think he's good.
Yeah, he is good, dude.
All right. So we will move on to the next fight here. We have a very fun fight. Fan favorite here, and Alexandr Romanov going against Jared Vanderaa. We have Romanov, who is 30 years old, 6'2", with a 75-inch reach. Vanderaa, the younger and bigger fighter, 29 years old, 6'4", with an 80-inch reach. So Vanderaa is going to have a 5-inch reach advantage and also a 2-inch height advantage as well. We'll take a look at the last few fights. We do see that Vanderaa is 3-2 in his last 5 fights. He made his UFC debut against Sergey Spivak. Prior to that, had a knockout win over Harry Hunsucker on the Contender Series, lost to Sergey Spivak by KO, which is going to be a pretty important fight to watch in terms of breaking down this fight, where Spivak was able to take him down multiple times, and Bandera really didn't have nothing off his back for Spivak in that fight, and ultimately ended up getting finished. I believe it was in the second round. And then he did win a decision against Justin Tafa. I think he was an underdog in that fight. He showed a ton of toughness. He showed a ton of volume, and he was able to out-volume Justin Tafa in a 3-round decision. So he did look good there. As far as Alexandr Romanov, he is 5-0 in his last 5 fights, made his UFC debut against Royk Martinez, submitted him, and then he went in there against Marcos Rogerio de Lima, submitted him, and then he went in there and won a decision against Juan Espino, very controversial decision. It was where he got kicked in the nuts, right? And he couldn't continue?
Yeah, he got, and I don't even know how bad that shot was, but he quit.
Romanov
quit.
Yep.
Romanov quit in the 3rd round because Espino wouldn't go away. But the problem is that, Bandera is not Juan Espino wrestling wise,
no.
so this is going to be a murder. This is going to be a flat out murder. Alexandr Romanov should easily take this guy down and finish him. If we look at bring up the advanced stats for just a second, and let's scroll down. I just want to show you guys the fights that Bandera's won and the fight that he lost. And we'll talk about the takedowns there. So Bandera, in his 2 wins against Justin Tafa and Harry Hunsucker, both of those guys attempted 0 takedowns against him. And Bandera won the fight, both of those fights, getting a takedown in the Hunsucker fight, but he didn't even need a takedown in the Tafa fight. But that Sergey Spivak fight, right? Sergey Spivak is 3 of 3 on takedowns against him. He gets 509 seconds of control time out of 572. This is exactly what Romanov does and does very well. So now if we go back to the matchup template here, we'll just look at these grappling numbers for Romanov. 8 out of 13 on takedowns in 3 fights. 61% takedown accuracy, 4.75 takedowns per 15 minutes, 1.78 submission attempts per 15 minutes, and a 70% control time for, only 11% control time against. And that 11% control time against came in a 3-fight sample size, with Juan Espino being one of his opponents, right? So he is absolutely fantastic on the ground. Jared Bandera has 0% takedown defense because the only 3 takedowns that have been attempted against him in the UFC were successful, and Bandera didn't do much once he was on his back. Jared Bandera is getting out-controlled, 4.51% control time for Bandera, 30% control time against. So we've seen Sergey Spivak already execute the exact same game plan that Alexandr Romanov is going to execute in this fight. We see Romanov literally getting this forearm choke, which is basically like a schoolyard choke that the 6th graders do to the 1st graders when they're just shaving their asses. I mean, this guy Romanov is doing that to professional mixed martial artist heavyweights who are black belts. Like Rogerio de Lima, he forearm choked him. I mean, have you ever seen anything like that? I've seen Machida get a win like that once pre-UFC, but you don't see people getting that choke. That's crazy. He's on a different level wrestling-wise, and that's one of the things that makes guys like Romanov, Espino, Blades so interesting at this division is you don't see great wrestling in the heavyweight division. So when somebody like Romanov comes in, they can exploit that weakness in these big guys' ground. And it's tough for these big guys to get up, especially more than once. So I see Romanov going through Bandera here like a hot knife through butter. The best parlay piece on the card. I'm picking Alexandr Romanov inside the distance by 2nd round submission. I just don't see any way that Bandera wins this fight other than just landing a lucky punch early or catching him with like a Derek Lewis uppercut, while Romanov shoots like Curtis Blades did on him. Other than that, man, this should be Romanov 6 days a week, twice on Sundays.
Yep, I agree. I know you don't like taking the easy way out when you pick your ass shavings of the week, but this will indeed be a serious ass shaving. You got to think. But yeah, I like Romanov here quite a bit. The guy's a beast. He's an absolute beast.
Yeah.
I don't like how he quit in his last fight. That was not a good look. I didn't have a bet on it or anything. I think I did pick Espino to win the fight, but it looked like he was on his way to losing the fight. He was gassed out really bad, got kicked in the nuts, and just gave up. He just quit.
Yeah.
So I did not like to see that, but this, like you said, this is not Juan Espino. This is one Jared Vanderaa, who I think he's a black belt, Weezy. Doesn't look like it when you watch the tape on him, but I could have swore he's a black belt. But regardless, I think Romanov's going to take him down multiple times. I think he's going to either get him out there with that ground and pound where he does the two hammer fists at once, or maybe even some type of weird submission. I mean, this guy's a beast. So we'll take a look at the odds here, and he is a big favorite for a very big reason. Opening up -400, he is currently -410. Jared Vanderaa opening up +330. It's currently +310. It's heavyweight. It's a heavyweight fight. Vanderaa does have power. He has knockout power. If Romanov maybe messes around on the feet too much, maybe test out his striking, yeah, Vanderaa could knock him out potentially, but Romanov does look very tough, and he does fight smart. He does go to his strength. And if it's not working out on the feet, which you probably do got to favor Vanderaa there, to be honest, I think Romanov just takes him down easily, picks him up, slams him, and probably finishes the fight shortly after. So I like Romanov. I like Romanov inside the distance. I like Romanov under probably 1.5 rounds as well. We see the fight doesn't go. Opened up at -350. It is currently -350. The fight goes to decision is +250. Any thoughts on the Romanov money line? Too wide, just right, could be wider, or any thoughts on the fight doesn't go -350?
Yeah, the Romanov money line feels like there could even still be value in it here, especially as a parlay piece. And what's the fight doesn't go?
-350.
Oh boy, that's a little wide, but I mean, it's really hard to see somebody getting their hand raised via the decision here. I don't see anybody surviving on the ground with Romanov. Not at this point, dude. Not Vanderaa. Not after what Spivak did to him, because Romanov is easily just as good, if not better, on the ground than Spivak, and he's probably a better offensive wrestler than Spivak. I mean, this is one Moldovan who just shaved Jared Vanderea's ass, and I think there's another Moldovan in line to do it for the second time. That Moldovan is named Alexandr Romanov. This is going to be an ass shaving.
Yep, I agree with you there. I think Romanov is a solid parlay piece. So we will move on to the main event. Before we get into it, if you all can hit the like button, a lot of you guys hanging out here on a Sunday, hit the sub button as well. Lots of great content here on Pub Sports Radio. Me and Uncle Weezy will be going live on Tuesday for the DraftKings show, so check that out. And of course, Clint's going to get his stuff out tomorrow, all that good stuff, and also puts out content throughout the week. And then the guys go live on Saturday, live betting, live commentary. Always a fun time hanging out with them on fight day. Me and Uncle Weezy will we'll probably get back to doing our main event deep dives maybe next week. I'll let you enjoy your vacation, but we'll get back to that next week. But this one here, we'll break it down now. We have Marina Rodriguez going against Mackenzie Dern. We have Dern, who is 28 years old, 5'4", with a 63-inch reach. Marina Rodriguez, 34 years old, 5'6", with a 65-inch reach. In terms of the last few fights, we have Mackenzie Dern against Amanda Ribas. She came back off of a layoff. She came back off of a pregnancy. She did not look great in that fight. She lost by decision against Amanda Ribas, who Ribas is a solid fighter, so no shame in that. She comes back and submits Hannah Cyphers. I think that was the fight. I think Cyphers pulled guard or something. Something weird happened in that fight where it just ended up on the ground for some reason. Against Randa Marcos, same thing where Mackenzie Dern actually slips. Randa Marcos jumps into Dern's guard, and after the fight, I guess Marcos said that she thought she hurt Dern. I went back and watched that fight today, and she didn't even touch Dern. Dern literally just slipped, and Marcos followed her to the ground. Of course, she gets subbed after that, and then she wins a decision over Virna Jandiroba. Not much grappling going on in that fight. Kind of outpointed Virna Jandiroba in a striking fight. Close fight, but she clearly got it done in 15 minutes there. And then she did beat Nina Nunez, who was coming off of a layoff herself, coming off of a pregnancy herself. She took her down. She showed improvements in her wrestling. She was able to get a nice takedown. And, of course, she's been showing improvements in her striking as well. Submitted Nina Ansaroff, which taking her down and submitting her, that is not something easy to do. So Dern is on fire winning her last 4 fights. Marina Rodriguez, she is 3-1 in a draw in her last 5 fights. She does have 2 draws on her record. She has a decision win over Tisha Torres, a draw against Cynthia Calvillo, a loss to Carla Esparza, a win over Amanda Ribas, a win over Michelle Waterson by decision. So when you take a look at Marina Rodriguez, she gets taken down, and she gets taken down a lot. And when she does get taken down, she does not offer up, pretty much anything off her back. I was really, displeased with her lack of ability to get up. I was displeased of her lack of ability to try to get up. And this is a fight where if she gets taken down, Weezy, I think the fight will be over shortly after. So she was taken out 5 times by Carla Esparza, 3 times by Cynthia Calvillo, 2 times by Randa Marcos, and she was taken down by Ribas and Waterson as well. She's been taken down in pretty much every single fight. And although Dern has a horrible, horrible takedown accuracy, horrible wrestling, if Marina Rodriguez slips once in this fight, if she slips, like she slipped in the, which fight? She slipped in the Aguilar fight. She was slipped, and then Aguilar was able to get on top for about 3 minutes. If she slips, if Dern's able to get her down once, I think one time on the mat will be all it takes. But on the flip side, if Dern is not able to get this down to the mat, I think, Marina Rodriguez is going to make it look pretty easy. I think she's the much better striker. So this is a striker versus grappler matchup. Weezy, I think whoever wins this fight is going to, in hindsight, look like a massive favorite. If Dern wins, it's going to be because this fight hits the mat and she gets a sub. If Rodriguez wins, it's going to be because she has improved her takedown defense. She keeps it on the feet and pieces up Dern for 25 minutes. So, yeah, very intriguing matchup. Weezy, what are you looking at for this one?
Yeah, it's the most binary fight on the card, without a doubt. I mean, you're talking about Mackenzie Dern is just quicksand on the ground. I mean, if it gets there, you're done. And we've seen Marina Rodriguez show that she's just not, she's not on a lot of people's grappling level, but nobody's on. Maybe Virna Jandiroba might be the only one in the division that's even close grappling wise to in terms of submission grappling to Dern here. So, but Marina Rodriguez, we know that she's going to be the way better striker here, and we also know that she's fought the way better brand of competition. We look at these strength of schedule stats here, Brady. They're key. Look at that 0.85 win-loss ratio of Mackenzie Dern's opponents on the aggregate, while we look at 1.43 for Rodriguez. She's also fighting the more experienced competition. And then look at the wins. That's my favorite thing to look at, especially in a main event fight. Look at who Mackenzie Dern's beating. Ladies with losing records, 3.33 wins, 4.33 losses, 7.67 total fights, 0.77 ratio. While Marina Rodriguez, 4 wins, 2.2 losses, a 1.82 win-loss ratio. Marina Rodriguez, huge advantage on the feet. Marina Rodriguez, in my opinion, a huge advantage in the strength of schedule. Mackenzie Dern, a huge advantage in the grappling. And if we look at the experience numbers here, it's going to be Marina Rodriguez. If we look at the size, it's going to be Marina Rodriguez. But Mackenzie Dern is one of those crazy fighters that, she's just absolutely perfect in one area of her game. And if she gets you on the ground, either in her guard or even worse, if she's on top of you, it's probably less than 90 seconds before she submits you cleanly. There was a fight I remember when Dern was getting hyped up pre-UFC, and I think it might have been her last win before she got into the UFC. This girl that she beat, she had her wrapped up so bad, Brady. I think she could have finished with one of 3 different submissions, all from the same position. She had like an arm bar, a choke, and like a shoulder lock all in one. I had never really even seen anything like it, dude. She is like a spider monkey on the ground. There's no way you're gonna get out of that web if you wind up down there with her. But Marina Rodriguez, the takedown defense, 62.5%. It just doesn't, elicit a lot of confidence. And then you look, everybody's taking her down. The only fight that she didn't get taken down, I think, was the Aguilar fight, if I'm not mistaken. If I look at the advanced stat, am I right about that?
Yeah, but she did slip, and Aguilar was able to get on top.
Okay, so yeah, but you look at the takedown numbers against 1 of 5, 1 of 1, 5 of 9, 3 of 4. Then it was 0 of 7 in the Aguilar fight, 0 of 1 before that, then 2 of 5 before that. 12 of 32 times her opponents have been successful on the takedowns. And shit, if you throw out the Aguilar fight, who's not really UFC level, it's 12 of 25. So even though Mackenzie Dern, and we talked about this, as a matter of fact, I was right here in this house in Cape Coral the last time we talked about a Mackenzie Dern fight. And it was the Dern-Nunez fight. And we were talking about that, something like, what was it, 6% takedown accuracy for Mackenzie Dern prior to that? But then she goes out and she gets one takedown. And all it took was one, right? All it took was one, and Nina Nunez was out of there in the first round. Oh, God, man. This is a hard one to call because we're going to have to lay juice on Dern if we want to bet her. But we do know that the only path is via grappling. However, it's a 5-round fight. And if at any point with more than 90 seconds, maybe even with 30 seconds, maybe even if she gets on top with 30 seconds, that's all it takes. Because then she knows, like Dern will know what's left on the clock and how aggressive she needs to be. She's not worried about Marina getting on top of her if she goes for a submission and it doesn't work out. But yeah, I just got to think over 5 rounds eventually. You know what I really like here, Brady, is the fight doesn't go to decision. Yeah. Because if Dern doesn't get this to the ground in a 5-round fight, Marina Rodriguez is knocking her out. She has great power. Yeah. She has great power. But if she does slip on that banana peel, if Dern has been working on this takedown accuracy, and you got to believe, right? What else is she going to work on? I mean, she's got to work on her striking, but if she's smart, she's just trying to get takedowns because that's where she's going to be at her best. Every time she gets a takedown, she's deadly. So I got to believe that Mackenzie Dern will find a takedown at some point, even if she doesn't get a takedown. Maybe she just backpacks Marina Rodriguez without getting a takedown and gets a choke that way. So I gotta pick Dern here, but the better bet, I believe, is the fight doesn't go to decision, this being a 5-round fight.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough fight to call because if you know me, I'm probably one of the biggest Dern haters out there. A lot of people are saying that, she's going to be champion one day, and I disagree with that. I mean, maybe if she makes improvements, but her takedown accuracy is horrible. Like you said, prior to the last fight, it was like 6%. Her striking is improving, but it's still terrible. 38% striking accuracy. Yeah. But in this fight here, all she needs is one takedown, which makes it so hard to call because I think Rodriguez is going to be winning the minutes of this fight on the feet. But the second she gets it down to the mat, I think that's all it takes. And Rodriguez, when she does get taken down, she has nothing. She does not work her way back up. She has no get-up game. She's going to have nothing, especially against Dern. She'll have nothing. So I like Dern to win. I'm picking Dern to win by submission. I think one takedown is all it's going to take. But if she does not get a takedown, it's going to look ugly. I mean, Marina Rodriguez is a beast on the feet. She is very good. She hits very, very hard. And with how hittable Dern is, with her striking not being right where it needs to be, although it is improving, it is looking better, I think Rodriguez is going to have a massive advantage on the feet. But again, all it takes is one, and that's kind of how I see it playing out. I see either Marina Rodriguez, slipping on a banana peel, sometime in the fight, falling over, like a lot of opponents tend to do in Mackenzie Dern fights, like Hannah Cifers did. Cifers pulled guard against her. Random Marcos jumped into her guard. I can see something like that happening. Or if Dern's wrestling has improved, which she did get a takedown in her last fight against Nina Ansaroff, which again is not easy to do. Ansaroff typically has very good takedown defense. If she can get Rodriguez down, I think the fight will be over shortly after. But I do like your call on the fight doesn't go to decision. So we'll take a look at these lines. Mackenzie Dern opened up -185. She's currently -158. So a little bit of money coming in on the Marina Rodriguez side. And then we have Rodriguez +160. And she opened up +160. She's currently +138. To be honest, I can't get to the Mackenzie Dern money line because I think she's going to be losing this fight up until she wins it. I do think she wins it, but laying chalk at Dern in a fight where she's going to be getting out-trucked, she's going to be getting touched up until she is, if she finds a takedown, I just can't do that. But what I will say is I will attack this fight a different way. We see the fight doesn't go to decision, -210. The fight goes to decision, +160. I do like that. I'm not in love with the price. I think it's fair, but I think this fight does finish one way or another. And then I also like Dern either inside the distance or by submission as well. I think one takedown or one slip is all it's going to take for Dern. So, give me Dern inside the distance. Give me Dern by submission.
Yeah, it's really kind of hard to picture Dern winning a decision here, right? I mean, wouldn't she have to get multiple takedowns and rack up multiple minutes of control time without getting a sub? In order to do that, and that's not going to happen, right? So you got to feel like there's some ways to play this fight. If you're having a hard time picking a side, but you could see either one finishing, you could go with that fight doesn't go to decision. If you're on the Dern side, you can maybe add a little more value to that bet by betting her by submission, because it's unlikely she's going to win this fight by knockout. I mean, she has no wins by knockout in her career. And Marina Rodriguez has obviously never been knocked out. She's actually never even been finished, Marina Rodriguez. But if Dern gets her to the ground, she's finishing her. I mean, Dern has a 64% finish rate and an even higher finish rate in her UFC by percentage at 67. So, yeah, dude, this is a great one, dude. And Rodriguez can absolutely knock out Mackenzie Dern. I mean, if Amanda Ribas could outstrike her for 3 rounds, then Rodriguez could knock her into the middle of next week. So yeah, we could see a Rodriguez knockout inside the distance. We could see a Dern sub inside the distance. We could see the fight not going to decision at -210. And boy, I kind of actually hope more money comes in on Dern here, because I just think Marina Rodriguez is almost better everywhere except for in the grappling. She's more experienced. She has the size advantage. She has the much tougher level of competition that she's fought. And she's fought a couple of really tough girls to draws too. So she's shown good conditioning going into the 3rd rounds of fights, which we haven't seen much out of Dern in that respect yet, especially if she's going to be unsuccessfully trying to wrestle or getting takedowns at a 10% rate. She'll gas out before Marina does, and she'll be in trouble late here. So yeah, there's some really interesting ways to attack this fight.
Yeah, I hate this fight. I hate it, but I love it because, I want to pick Marina Rodriguez so bad. I want to bet her so bad. I just see 25 minutes. You got to imagine at some point this fight very well could hit the ground. And if it does, it's over. And then on the flip side, would I be shocked if Marina Rodriguez stuffs the takedowns, keeps it on the feet for 25 minutes or up until she gets a knockout? No. Would I be shocked if Mackenzie Dern got on the mat and finished her by sub? No. So yeah, I can't touch the money line personally. We'll see where that money line does go. But I think violence could be the answer here, or like a Dern sub prop, maybe Rodriguez knockout prop, something like that. But don't think I'll be touching this from a money line perspective, unless, like you said, a ton of money comes in on Dern, which, to be honest, I'd be kind of shocked. I feel like Rodriguez will be kind of a popular underdog play this week because she will be winning minutes up until she doesn't. And people are like me. There are some people that do like to fade Mackenzie Dern, and it hasn't been working out. And I will like to fade her in the future, but this is a fight where I just don't know if I can. Rodriguez has a poor ground game, poor takedown defense. I think Dern does get it done at some point. But yeah, intriguing fight, tough fight to call, but I'm going to be picking Dern here.
Yeah, I'm not making a pick yet because, I do see some paths for Rodriguez here. 100%. But boy, I mean, I love that fight doesn't go. And as soon as that thing opens up, if I can get it around -210 or better than that, I think I'll be throwing 2 units on that and feeling pretty good about it.
Yep, 100% agree. So yeah, we did it, guys. Went through 11 fights, went pretty fast here. Thank you all so much in the chat for hanging out. As always, had a decent amount of people in here for a Sunday and for this card especially. This card, to be honest, is not great, but always try to be positive. There are some decent fights, and I think it's always another opportunity to make some money. So Uncle Weezy, let them know where they can find you and what you have going on throughout the week in terms of content. And you're in Florida right now. When will you be back?
I'm coming back on Wednesday night, so I'm going to still try to do some content here from Florida. I don't have much in the way of plans other than going golfing with my dad tomorrow. So I'm going to try to do a balls deep breakdown or 2 here from Florida, continue to give you guys the content on my channel. And I'll be seeing you on Tuesday on Pub Sports Radio for the DraftKings show. And I'll be doing my Tuesday night after the Contender Series, just the tip here from Florida. But yeah, check me out on Twitter at MMA Weezy. And, you can find me right here on Pub Sports Radio twice a week, man. So yeah, a lot of places to find me now.
Sounds good. Can't wait for the DraftKings show. I think it's going to be a very interesting DraftKings slate.
You got that right.
Oh, yeah. You can follow me on Twitter, DFS_numbers. Instagram is DFS by the numbers. I'll be getting my full card breakdown and prediction video out on Tuesday morning. Going to finish up some tape tonight, tomorrow, and then have that ready. DraftKings video will be out as well. I go live on Friday at my channel after the weigh-in, 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern time. And then me, Weezy, Narco, and then we'll also have a new guest next or this Saturday, 1 hour prior to when the prelims start. Not sure when they do start, but just know we'll be going live 1 hour prior to when they start, giving the best bet for each and every fight on the card. Last week or a couple days ago, we had Tajik on. That was awesome. Hope to see him back very soon. So anything else, Uncle Weezy, or should we head out of here?
Let's head out of here, man. I'm going to get back to vacation, maybe have my first beverage of the evening and just start relaxing here. So, yeah, man, thanks everybody for hanging out with us on a Sunday night. We appreciate each and every one of you. God bless each and every one of you. And I can't wait to see you guys on Tuesday night on Pub Sports Radio, and check me out on my channel on Tuesday night as well.
We'll see you there. All right, guys, leave a like on your way out. Subscribe. Go check me and Weezy out on Twitter and on YouTube as well. Good luck for UFC Vegas 39. Let's make some money on this not so great card, but make